Hey everybody, I'm here finally. I know a bitch was taking forever. Um, yeah, there's just a lot going on, and I was really putting a lot into this episode, because I was really into the. Not to say that I wasn't into the other ones, but this one I think I'm kind of like more like in the zone. Because I think I was going through a lot of like turmoil in some of the earlier episodes of this season on YouTube, like a lot of challenges or whatever. Now I feel like I'm coming to the other side. Not that I'm not still in the midst of like challenges, but because I am, but there's a lot more things shifting in a positive way. I mean, there's still things that are like challenging in other ways, but like a little bit with just my mother's health and things like that. Um, like just recently, they said she had some sort of nodules in her thyroid. They said they're small, and we looked it up, and it says it's like very like common, and it's not like a big deal. But they have to like do a like a ultrasound or whatever the fuck it's called. To kind of look at them. And so she's been going to church and she, volunteers there. And she's like in charge of like all the volunteers and she places them. And, but yeah, she like, is always speaking a lot, um, when she's there for like a few hours. So there's so many people there. She's, and she's the last couple weeks or whatever since the doctor, and it was crazy that her doctor was like, so the nurse was like, "Oh, did the doctor ever let you know that you had these three like nodule growths in your thyroid?" And she was like, "No, like the doctor totally forgot for like months to even let her know," which is really just a bit crazy or shocking. And then even the nurse was like, "Oh, that's crazy that they have not told you that." And so we looked it up, and it's says it's nothing to worry about, but still. And she was sick a few weeks ago, so she wasn't, and she had like a sore throat when she was sick, so um she wasn't sure if it was like that, and she was just not talking too much when she's there, or if the thyroid thing is having something to do with it. So she is getting this procedure. And then there's been, since she's seen me go through financial challenges with my disability ending last month, and me kind of trying to figure out like which way the wind fucking blows of like where spirit is leading me to draw an income. And so there's very this like tower moment of things ending for me, and but then like beginning as well. And it's funny how everything is kind of culminating right on, which always happens. I was just saying that to myself or to my mother the other day, where I was like, I started to notice this years ago when I was studying Kabbalah, but as I've gotten older, even just the last couple years, you just notice how everything is like in cycles. So everything's like cyclical with like the new moons, the eclipses, Kabbalistic astrological holidays and portals, and planetary shifts or alignments that are rare. So you really start to notice if you get really in sync with those things, and whether you study witchcraft or Kabbalah, or things that are more like in our astrology, or things that are more like immersed or in sync with astrology, which Kabbalah and witchcraft and lots of different spiritual beliefs are, especially in Kabbalah, they really go by the Sefer Yetzirah by Abraham, and it's very like even all the Kabbalistic holidays land on astrological events, and it just always seems like not always seems, it just always happens to be like that. And it's no coincidence. There's definitely some heavenly orchestrated system going on there with it, which was why initially I was so drawn into Kabbalah in my early 20s or mid 20s. Um, and so, yeah, happy Rosh Hashanah, everyone. Shana Tova, which means a good new year, a happy and good new year. They consider it, even though there's, the American New Year. What is that? What would that be called? The Gregorian or American New Year, or like well, they consider Kabbalistically in that calendar, after Rosh Hashanah is like basically kind of like a fresh new slate, like a fresh year. But there's also like the 12 days of Aries, when Aries begins, that they refer to that as like a new cycle as well. So it's kind of interesting that there's these like, two different periods where it's like you're really planting seeds or cleaning house, cleaning the slate, getting like a refresh for the year. Where's my energy drink? Trying this little Starbucks. I got it tonight at Walmart. Um, Zero sugar blueberry lemonade. So it's hydration, plant based, caffeine, mental clarity. It said sugar free, so I was like, okay, that works. I've really cut out sugar, like in fucking everything pretty much. Like I'll either use stevia, or if I get something it's no sugar, I'm eating fruit instead of like chocolate. It's been an adjustment. So I'm having to get used to, like, because I do get moments where I'm like, I'm like craving, because I had sugar my whole fucking life, but it's really not good for me. And I've cut out carbs. I was just doing, like, even I cut out tortillas, and then I tried to do corn tortillas because they seem to bloat me less than flour tortillas, but even those do a little bit. So it's kind of like, for sandwiches, I've been doing like organic bell peppers, which I love. I love the fucking crunch. It's really good. And I'll just do like I'll get like, turkey deli slices from Sprouts, from like Boar's Head is like my favorite, so I get that. Slap it on with some turkey bacon, a little avocado, some tomatoes, some red onion, whatever, chipotle mayo, whatever. You could do hummus sometimes. I've been doing that. A lot of chicken breast. My doctor, was saying to watch my triglycerides when it comes to like red meat, and to make sure if I do have red meat, it's a very lean cut. So I've really just cut out carbs, cut out sugar, really watching my fat content. I've been not using butter. So I'm really just trying to like clean up my diet. It's working. I had a few corn tortillas the last few days, and I do feel like it kind of put a little bit weight back on me, which I was not happy about. But it's just like, fuck. It's like, sucks to like, it's like, so I bought some like romaine lettuce. So I'm trying to do like romaine lettuce or bell pepper. Bell pepper works good. You could do like a taco boat with that. You could do fucking tuna. I get safe catch tuna. That's really good. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Just really shifting my diet, really doing like lymphatic. I've been doing those lymphatic drainage drops, chlorophyll drops, both of those from Mary Ruth, organics. Last 2 days I was so busy, I don't think I was drinking enough waters, which let's have a little water. Sometimes I get so busy and I'm not paying attention to how much water I'm having. And that's been a sort of a theme as well recently for me is making boundaries internally and externally. Even I've had to do it with my mother, where it's like my life is kind of shifting around this time period where I knew this was happening, and now I'm really seeing, I'm like in the midst of it, and I'm really seeing just like things close and things open, like major blessings come into play right now. um and I did a lot of these cleansing rituals the past month, and even just today and yesterday with all the with the holiday and the eclipse and the you know autumn equinox, and very powerful today and tomorrow, and even the day before yesterday. um I've done these Kabbalistic Rosh Hashanah cleansing rituals where it's like a burnt offering, where you write down, any negativity you've created in the past year. If you're doing it for the first time, you can do your whole lifetime, or you can also write down or say, um, even past lifetimes since the beginning of creation, the time of Adam and Eve. Um, and so, since I've done this for 20 years, I usually just deal with the last year. Um, and so, yeah, and so I did that. You write it down, then you burn it in the fire. And it was interesting because just a week prior, so a few years back, when I was studying with Parashakti, she had introduced me to this shaman in our Winged Ones tribal council, which I was a part of for a few years. And Itzhak Berry, and he has a book called Shamanic Healing, and really hit it off with him. And he invited me to these online Zoom meetings with the New York, which he was like the head of the New York Shamanic Circle, and then him and also this other shaman, Shaman Herman Oliveira. I'm not sure how he pronounces his last name. Love him. Um, really bonded with him this last session. It was just him. Itzhak was busy. He wasn't there, but he's makes regular like appearances for the circle, and usually goes a couple hours. And they do it once a month. But I did it for like a few months, a few years back, and I really liked, not liked, I really loved it, but I was just going through so much at that point in my life. And now I'm like kind of like in a more balanced, where things have kind of like slowed down. I've done a lot of healing. Um, I've gotten more back into like spiritual practices, um and purified myself, my vessel. I don't, like, back then I was smoking and drinking, and now I'm not smoking or drinking. And like back then I was like smoking cigarettes or pot or taking like gummies, and like I was under a lot of fucking stress. So like at night I would do that to like sleep or whatever. And yeah, and now I don't do any of that. And so if if I'm having trouble sleeping, I take some magnesium, Calm brand. Garden of Life is a really good magnesium brand. I think works good, whether you do the power powder or um I thought I like the powder, but now I'm thinking I like the Calm gummies better. It's like for a while it was like I felt like but it's, and like, and if you're like going to bed and you don't want to be pissing all night because you're drinking fucking a full cup of like hot magnesium like tea or whatever, the gummies are great. I tried these one gummies that my mom was trying. I forget which brand that is, and I didn't. They weren't effective, but the Calm gummies I like. Not the sleep ones, it's just the calm ones. Because the sleep ones have melatonin, and melatonin makes me have like these vivid ass fucking dreams where it's like I'm like in a damn movie. So Me and melatonin don't like mesh well, but the calm ones I take, you can take 2 to 4 gummies and it fucking I sleep rest, I sleep much better. It's also good for like muscle fatigue or soreness or yeah. And it's good for your gut, lots of things. You're getting all the minerals and your body needs from it. Um, so yeah, the shamanic circle this week was awesome. So I have a shit ton of notes. Like I curated so much for this episode. It was really awesome. Probably too much. So this might be a longer episode than most, but I really enjoy that process. The only thing that I don't enjoy is that once I set a set date, I feel like I'm on suddenly in this like race to the fucking finish line, which I don't like. And I never feel like I'm like getting enough done, especially at this point in my life where I have a lot of distractions from, my mother, her puppy, or just sometimes being tired and having a lot of other things going on and, errands to run or responsibilities, even sometimes just the natural day-to-day things of like cooking, cleaning, fucking showering, whatever, using the restroom. It's just all starts to fucking add up and accumulate to where, you're like exhausted and if you're not like replenishing your energy properly, you can get like burnt out. And so I really have to like make sure I'm like doing enough self-care, getting enough hours of rest, drinking, like I said, drinking enough water, taking my vitamins. Even, I've been implementing meditation and yoga, and I've noticed like resistance to it because I believe I've been diagnosed with PTSD. My doctors haven't diagnosed me with ADHD, but I believe I do have it. And by my therapist thinks that I have like, hypervigilance. I know I can tell that I do. So it's been and I've been with my therapist for about a year and a half. And I do like to be aware of when I'm getting too hyper vigilant and so meditation and yoga is like honestly the perfect practice for me or anyone that has issues with PTSD, extreme trauma. I was like reiterating this too cuz sometimes I never liked people viewing me as like having disability. I don't like it as I don't like it to acknowledge it as like something that's like a hindrance to me because I'm still capable in a lot of like ways. But it is considered a disability. And especially the level of trauma that I have been through. People say that they look at me and it doesn't seem as though I am because the way I present myself and carry myself. And because if you knew the things I have been through, you would be like fuck yeah, he is. Um, because it was years and years and years and years of being in like really dark, scary situations, homelessness, almost like kidnapping situations, like rape, like fucking yeah, homelessness. I said that happened too many times. Starvation, times where I was stuck in situations where I had completely shut down, almost like mentally, emotionally, and I was like self harming in the sense of like numbing myself with alcohol and weed or drugs and chain smoking. There was points where I would literally chain smoke cigarettes like it was almost like hypervigilance smoking. I was just like non fucking stop. There was times where I was like in situations where people were drugging me And I was just like, it was too much. So I don't really, and there's even just like darker things where it's just like I don't even like to go into, where I was like young and certain things, to have like a roof over my head. I was not knowing where to sleep and having to get help from complete strangers. And so I would be scrambling and go into a nightclub or like a bar and not know where I was going to sleep that night, and kind of put myself in, situations that I didn't really want to be in just to survive. And so, many years of things like that, or also being in an abusive relationship, where this person was a very dark sort of like soul, and I was just very naive, and I would just, and because I was like, because we did have a bond in certain ways, and I was estranged from my family, I let this person kind of really just like mentally, emotionally, and even physically, because he did assault me before when he was intoxicated. Interesting thing, he came to me in a dream this last week, right before Rosh Hashanah, and I believe he was coming. His spirit was coming, wanting me to forgive him, and and so there was a mutual exchange, because I don't like to play victim, and so for, if there was anything that I, because I'm not saying I was like perfect, even though I feel like he was like narcissistically abusing me, and I was like in love with him in my early 20s. The rest of the time, it was just like a friendship in my 30s, and then I never spoke to him again in my 40s. And but he was really just like, he was just very different than me. I was kind of like in my 20s, I was like in love with him, and he was just like really like mean and verbally abusive, or sabotaging, or not to even get into all the fucked up things he did, because I do feel like his spirit came, and I want it to be a clear slate, and let that past go. I don't, like, I have new, energy of love coming into my life. And this is one thing I wanted to make clear as well, that spirit made very clear to me um today, was that I'm not going to be speaking about my love life. Um, it's sacred to me. That person is sacred to me, and I won't be speaking about them at all. And spirit made that clear to me, that it is something that I need to keep private and keep to myself and keep sacred. And I completely understand why, especially recently, because I've just noticed how much attention, interestingly enough, has been put on my love life in the community, in the online community, which is just interesting. I mean, it was very unexpected. Um, and so that's that. I'm not going to elaborate anymore, other than I won't be discussing my relationship with anyone. And that's that. And that's the end of that. I'm going to even discuss the subject, and and everything's fucking. That's all I'm going to say, and yeah, and so I'm just very grateful for what's coming in, into my life, whether that be love, whether that be um, career opportunities, shifts and changes of where I'm going to be working next, and opportunities that are going to be manifesting from seeds I've planted and spiritual work I've done in the past year. And I'm feeling a lot of those seeds that I planted early in the beginning of the year, and even have, sort of like tended to, are like harvesting now. And so it's a really exciting time. Some of the things that are closing are hard to like adjust to, like, I had to have a talk with my mother recently, that I'm, I may be traveling for career stuff. Not maybe, I know that's what's going to happen, and I'm going to like start a new life, with my soulmate, and I'm going to have to make shifts. And there was a time where it's like my mother, I really showed up for my mother, and she showed up for me as well. And her husband died, she's a widow, and so I was really kind of like made sure that that didn't kill her, and I really took the brunt of that. And then also, got her out of that old house and neighborhood and got her into this much better neighborhood where I just feel like it's just for her golden years. I want her to be in like, a better area, a nicer house. We've got here, we've been situated, and and then her dog and stuff. It's like I got attached to, and I didn't realize I was going to get so attached to her dog. But yeah, God, has like purpose and plans for me, where it's like I've had to kind of like set these boundaries and let my mom know, and kind of like even emotionally myself detach, because I am going to be shifting into this new life with soulmate and career, and it's going to take me away in a lot of ways that it's going to be tough to be, because I love my mom, and I'm really like take good care of her, and I just watch over her. And there are people in her life from her church, and people, friends and stuff, that are, and I've had to talk with my brother today about it. And she finally accepted it. She was kind of resistant at first, and I just it wasn't like an easy conversation, and I had to like set this boundary and be like, look, this is what's happening. Like, if something were to happen to you now, I would not be able to survive. And God is leading me into like my career and my destiny, and there's major like, opportunities coming in for me. And it's like right on the horizon, about to like manifest. And I'm like, I'm not going to say no, and I want you to be prepared for this. And I want you to understand, for with my, soulmate and future husband, that, it's my time. Like, I have been single my whole entire life. And even when I, dated that, narcissistic, I didn't even consider him a boyfriend, because it was never a healthy thing, even in my 20s or whatever. So I've never like experienced like love. My brother found his soulmate in high school, and we were talking about it today, and I was like, it's crazy that you found your soulmate like, in your high school. And he was saying, well, it took us about 7 years to get it together. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, you guys were fucking teenagers, so of course you have to mature. But I'm just saying, better late than never. And that's like, a priority. And it's like I'm having to shift into this different like, and it's about damn time, because it's just like it's overdue, I feel. And I'm so fucking ready, like beyond fucking ready. And like yearning to just shift into this new aspect of my life. And I was feeling very hindered and unhappy in the situation. I felt very stifled, and I knew even the universe was like shifting me out of it. And I noticed in a lot of like spiritual practitioners that I follow, or on social media and stuff, and enjoy, their readings and stuff. A lot of them were like tapping in, and really like being helpful with like, and I think they're just picking up on my magnetic frequency. Because of who I am. I do have a very powerful frequency. A lot of like spiritual, practitioners pick up on it. And because of law of attraction, and it is my fucking movie. So things are, the algorithm is meant for me, you know what I mean? So sometimes you're receiving messages, and you're noticing when you're getting channeled stuff that specifically guiding you in a certain direction, whether that be even a fucking stranger or spiritual practitioner on social media. That happens a lot with me, where I'll notice synchronicities and that a message sounds distinctly fitting for me, and I do um, pay attention, and when I do feel an anointing on a message. And and that's actually been very helpful. I think that really helps me a lot, honestly, in the sense of understanding what it that I was going through a tower moment, um, and the hard once you're like going through like where certain things are ending, and they're ending before the new things are coming into play. So it's this uncomfortable, that somebody used a good example that I saw online, and she was saying like a caterpillar into a butterfly, and they go into this cocoon, and they're like, it's almost like a death of who they were. And it's this like uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, process. And before they make their way out of the cocoon and become a butterfly. And it's not some sort of like easy process. Well, that's what let's have some cashews. That let's have that's what I consider almost like the tower moment to be, in a sense, is that sort of like death and rebirth, which was definitely not easy. But it has also, I've noticed, been an opportunity for me to heal a lot of my it's been a challenge, but also an opportunity to heal that hypervigilance, that old PTSD, because I know better, because I have more spiritual tools now than I did back then, or learned more I've learned more from these spiritual tools, and I'm wiser at this age, that now that I'm going through this sort of tower moment, where back in the day when I would go through these type of tower moments, I would totally have a fucking meltdown, be very reactive. I would be doing things to numb myself instead of facing it, feeling it, going through it, clearing it, acknowledging it, finding the lesson in it. Um, and so this time I was well aware. I'm not saying I was perfect, even though I was well aware. There are so moments where it's uncomfortable and a bit triggering to the nervous system, whether you want it to be or not. But I'm also not in this. I'm not in the scary situations I was way back then. I do have more stability now, thank God. As I would never want to go through what I have been through. It was horrific. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Not that I have any enemies. I don't have any enemies. But you know what I'm saying, so to speak. But let's have a little coffee. I have like coffee, water, an energy drink, popcorn, apples, and honey. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this ritual for Rosh Hashanah, which brings like mercy and blessings and happiness and joy into your new year. That they do on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, which is tonight. I think it's tonight that they do it, or was it last night that they? No, I think it was tonight. Tonight's considered the first night. It's the 21st and 22nd. But I think they do some shit the night before. But I think the apple thing is tonight. And so yeah, you just drizzle honey. So I got this organic. I was like, how perfect when I went to the store today to Sprouts, and they had a cosmic crisp organic apples. I was like, oh, this is the one, baby. I usually get Honey Crisp or Pink Lady are my favorite, but Cosmic just went with the whole vibe. We got some 100% pure raw and unfiltered honey. And then we're going to do the Kabbalistic prayer with it. Right here from the Dialing God book from the Kabbalah Center. So yeah, there's a blessing for like fruits that come from a tree hayats. So that's the prayer you do with it. This one. It's all in the section of like all the prayers for the meals and the different types of food. There's different prayers for different types of food, like things that come from a tree or from the ground or like wine, bread. They have different like categories. And where was I going with this? What was I talking about before the Apple thing? Losing my train of thought. Let me go back to my notes. So yeah, when I say I'm curating, oh my god, why is this light so freaking bright? Can you guys see that? When I say I'm curating, I'm fucking curating. 71. How funny. 72 names of God. I got to 71. How funny. What the hell was I talking about? Hypervigilance. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I was like, all this timeline shift and tower moments. That's what I was talking about. And so, initially, when I was like having that conversation with my mother, and she was getting reactive and turning it into an argument, because, I watch her dog a lot for her when she has all these appointments or church. And I was like, look, mom, especially since my disability has been taken away, I don't have an income anymore. I don't have the luxury of not working anymore. And so it's like back to the grind, but I'm really like letting spirit lead me into my destiny and purpose, other than going back to these old sort of like jobs that I was miserable in. And I've really been trying to be like, get silent with myself and clear, but slow down enough. And this is what brings me to this book. This is why this book was like the perfect book of the moment as I was going through this. Because it's all about connecting with your inner visionary. And I think there's things that can happen where you can cause distraction or blockage. That can hinder you attuning. So yeah, we'll just go straight into this subject because it's organically leading there. So let me go to my notes. And also, this was a theme that popped up the last few days too, and it's something that I feel like is part of my destiny and something that I want to get certified in, is different modalities of somatic practices for like release and integration of the energies, like when you're connecting to like a new moon or like a full moon or an eclipse energy or a portal or a Kabbalistic window in time, where you're drawing light from like Bina, or from the the Sephiroth, the higher Sephiroth, and the upper worlds from the tree of life. and you're drawing it into not only your vessel but the physical world, and you're a channel or a chariot, as I am, you want to be like cognizant of the fact. They have this thing as well in Kabbalah called building your vessel, which is like expanding your vessel. And there's ways to do that so you can, hold more light, or, raise your vibrational frequency to have a greater impact. It's interesting too, because I had this like the subject of what is it called? Kinesiology, or like kinetic. Is that what it is? Like the word kinetic came up to me this week, and I had this crazy experience. Yeah, kinetic means relating to or resulting from motion. Kinetic energy is recovered into high performance battery, a work of art to put it up. What else does it say? Ever relating to the motion of material bodies and the forces and energy associated therewith. That's a good example. So I had this crazy experience where I was like, so I was having multiple dreams like last week. Two in particular that were like a bit uncomfortable, but this always happens before Rosh Hashanah. If I'm having, excuse me, some conflict, not if I'm having some conflict. If I have had conflict with people in the past, or if the light is even just warning me about somebody, sometimes in a dream, it'll be presented to me in a dream. So I had one situation where I felt I was having like a warning about someone who was entering my energetic field or dream state without my permission. And also, speaking of people being like nosy into my love life, it was a spiritual practitioner that I felt was being really nosy into my energy without an invitation. And it's okay, because I have the spiritual practitioners pick up on me all the time. And so it's like, it's not like I'm like bothered by it unless I get some sort of like red flag that the person's energy is like siphoning or draining, or it's a negative energy, or they're trying to like portray me in a way that is like untrue. If I get any sort of like whiff that it's like bad juju, and somebody's like either directing bad energy my way or trying to drain me of my like powerful energy, my powerful positive energy, my spirit guides will show me, and I don't even have to do shit. And sometimes I'll come across people online and I think they're cool, and I'll follow them and I'll watch their stuff, and lo and behold, they shift like a fucking shapeshifter, and they're like shady as fuck, or I start to get wind of them either talking shit or having bad intentions. It is what it is. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with people, especially when you're in the public eye or on social media, when people start fucking playing games and having egos about shit. It's unfortunate because that person I was just thought was cool, was, just liked their content. It wasn't much more than that. But it was like this, as my light has been shining brighter and brighter with the podcast, I noticed this person's energy became like almost like a little bit obsessive and like invasive. And so I have this dream where she like comes into my dream, and I had already been getting a red flag vibe off her already. But I just paid it no mind because I'm like, whatever. It's like not like I'm in this person's life. I just sometimes watch their content when it comes by my main chat, whatever, or the main page. I'm scrolling. And in the dream, it was just like another moment where I was like, okay, this person is like not all that they seem. And there's some sort of like dark attachment they have. Um, and they try to come off like a certain way, but really there's some sort of dark attachment that's kind of like focused on me in not a good way. And that's what I was picking up off this person. And this has happened to me for years. So I've said this that I have been all my whole life because I have a spiritual destiny that has been known to the other side, the dark side, the opponent, whatever you want to call it. I've had this energy pursuing me since I was like a child. And and I know when people are channels for those dark forces, I notice sometimes when it works through them to get at me, when it's really not even about the person, it's about that there's a force channeling through them because they are allowing their vessel to be used. And that's exactly what people that have klipot in Kabbalah, klipot are these like layers of negative attachments, almost like leeches, if you will, the spiritual leeches that attach to you and drain you and use your vessel because they're like disembodied spirits and they're trying to like live out their like, you know, wackadoodle fucking intentions through a physical body, and you know, because they're stuck in this plane of earth, disembodied. And because either they're in like this banishment or purgatory, and so they're trying to get into like a vessel that they can use, which isn't that creepy, but it's totally true. That's what exorcism and possession and all that shit is like about. And so Kabbalah gives you the tools to protect your vessel and cleanse your vessel and banish these negative klipot or forces. Thank God I learned those tools because it really was so invaluable when I was up against a lot of these negative forces in my adulthood. And as a child, I didn't know how to defend myself. And and so yeah, in the dream, she's like comes into my room and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like very defensive, like it's like she was coming like up in my consciousness, which was like in my room. And but it was almost like in the dream I was like, she's coming up in my consciousness in dream state. Like, you weren't invited here, I don't trust you, what are you doing here, what do you want? And just when I had that kind of like tone of like, I know you're up to something sort of thing, she gave me this like unsavory look and her head fell off, which is so funny because Sleepy Hollow is like one of my favorite movies. And you know that witchy bitch with the headless horseman and like how she's using like witchcraft to like. So I just thought it was funny because I had just got like Sleepy Hollow Tarot for the fall season. It's one of my favorite movies. I like the old Disney Ichabod Crane one, but I love the Tim Burton one with Christina Ricci, and which I want to feature her tarot deck as well. She has like a tarot deck that I wanted to get alongside this, but now I'm going through this like financial transition. I've had to put my shopping for the podcast on hold a bit, but I bought the Sleepy Hollow one last month. I want to get the Christina Ricci one and maybe do them together, but right now I'm for the next episode, the two-parters, I have this Grateful Dead deck and the Sleepy Hollow deck for the theme of October. And so there'll be two more episodes, which are the season finale for season 1 on YouTube, which is really exciting because it'll be full 13 episodes total for season 1, which 13 is the number, represents a numerology in Kabbalah, in Hebrew, uh, is the numerical value of love. So that's why I did a bonus episode to make it 13. And I'm all about love. And so her head falls off. So yeah, by the way, watch Sleepy Hollow. If you've never seen it, Christina Ricci, Johnny Depp, Tim Burton movie. I watch it every October. I love it. It's hilarious. It's so well done. It's one of my favorite October movies, or even like autumn, whatever. And the kid in me, like inner child, loves watching like the Disney one too with Ichabod Crane, and it just takes me back to when I used to watch a lot of like Disney, a lot of those cartoons and stuff off of like Disney. I used to watch a lot of that when I was younger, so I get nostalgia watching that. Especially like with Soulmate, I like to explore a lot of my inner child and watch things like that. So a lot of times I have ideas, when I am married or living with my soulmate. I love to like watch things together from our childhood. Just like really connecting to your inner child is like a big thing for me, because a lot of my childhood was not happy. And so as an adult, to have that freedom and independence and be in like, a loving relationship that's, where I wasn't back then. I was like under this like weird energy with like step parents and my parents, and just like, or like peer pressure and bad influences. There was just a lot of toxicity that I endured as a child, especially being gay and very like, more effeminate. I dealt with like a lot of like abuse from not only adults but other kids my age, and it was a lot. Ew, fuck does that hair come from? And that's one thing I wanted to acknowledge too about a lot of divine feminine males. And I think I'm a good balance, but I do think I have like a lot of feminine energy as well. As I'm older, I'm definitely can draw on my like I don't let people fuck with me, and I do like can draw on that energy in certain aspects of me. More my divine masculine comes out, in certain aspects of me the divine feminine comes out. When I was younger, I was definitely more feminine, and so I understand that. And you'll notice sometimes you get picked on maybe more when you're like more of like a guy when you're younger. And so that was the case for me like growing up, and I couldn't really cover it up, you know what I mean? It was like no matter what I did, or even no matter what my stepfathers tried to do to like make me like more like a man, which they would go out of their way to try to like rough me up or put me in sports or make me, be mean to me to make me more masculine. It was just a lot of like toxic, like masculine father figures I endured from. Like my mom had like 3 different marriages. They were all fucking toxic to me. Even boyfriends in between that, where it was these really like masculine like men that were like fucking adults, and you could see what an issue they had with the fact that I was like effeminate as like a young boy, and I liked to hang out with girls, or I wanted to play with girls' toys or do things that, a lot of things that girls like. They would really just get all up in arms and like almost just like mean to me about it because they had these like preconceived notions, or maybe their no, no, ideas of attributing, feminine males as a weakness or something evil that is perpetuated by a lot of religions. So there's a lot of that brainwashing that's in, male toxic male culture that's like perpetuated, and in a lot of states and things where it's really like intense like that. It's really hard for trans kids, or I'm not trans, but I'm like I was just like a very effeminate like male, gay male. And so yeah, it was not fucking easy like dealing with that growing up. And but yeah, as an adult, I'm like completely comfortable with that. I'm completely like comfortable with both sides. And I think in soulmate relation, um, I love like with like same sex relationship with like, I love that shift. Even though my partner may be technically considered divine masculine and I divine feminine, there's like sometimes a shift where it's like I have a lot of masculine energy too, and I like to like tap into like and allow my soulmates divine feminine to come in as well. And I can switch back and forth, and like whether it's like compatibility with intimacy or being like protective or like dominant in a way that's like a turn on. You know what I mean? Like where I like to play with I even had a song on my first album, 21st Century Psalms, called S&M, which was really about that exploration of the divine feminine and masculine in like a homosexual relationship, and exploring those things through intimacy and allowing the you know allowing both partners to explore those both of those sides to themselves, and not be stuck into some sort of fucking stereotype. Like if you want to go into like a submissive position, or experience being vulnerable and allowing your partner, who's maybe typically the vulnerable or the the receiver, and switch to the giver. That's it's like that Chaperone song, The Giver. I love that song. Yeah, she gets it. She's a lesbian. Anywho, where was I going with all this? So yeah, long story short, with the wackadoodle tarot girl, I was like, her head fell off in the dream when I was like, "What are you doing here?" And her head fucking lopped off. And it's like I was just like sitting like on my bed or something, and she comes in the door, and I'm just like from where I'm sitting, like, "What are you doing here?" And then she's like, she gives me this look. Her head falls off, and it turns to this like demon, like Medusa looking. It wasn't Medusa, but it was like a demon head. But I just thought of that movie when I was saying that. She gets beheaded. And the Clash of the Titans, which was a theme for one of my Supernal David podcast episodes on Instagram before the YouTube season, FYI. And so her head, and then I woke up when her head looked like a demon. I was like, all right, get me the fuck out of here. And so I immediately, like, I didn't immediately. So then I was like, oh, this must be some sort of warning from spirit about this person. And I already, probably a few months back, had like an instinct about her that just something felt energetically off and negative. And I really didn't know where I was unsure of it, but I was like, yeah, I'm feeling like this weird vibe off of her and her attention on me. Because I'm just very clairvoyant when it comes to shit like that. especially when someone is like crossing boundaries and being like invasive in areas that they shouldn't energetically with me, which when you're in the public eye or you're in the spiritual communities where people do tarot and do readings and psychic readings and stuff, a lot of times this is an interesting thing. I think when it's coming from an innocent, sort of lighthearted, positive thing, it's fine. But a lot of times there are spiritual practitioners or psychics or tarot readers that are they're invasive and then they use you as some sort of like muse, but like in a negative way where they're really like trying to get in your energetic field and like look into your relationship. And they're with this girl, she was saying shit that was like absolutely not fucking true. And so probably a few days after that dream, I noticed she was doing that because I was curating and promoting my advertisements on about the Supernal David podcast. And then I knew she was like making content literally based off my promotions. And at first, at first when she was doing that, it seemed positive, but then it kind of took this negative route where it was like she was just like making up shit, but yet still basing it off what I had shared. And I was just like, that was another reason where I was like, you know what? I think this was just a lesson that was like moving forward when it comes to my love life, it's off fucking limits. And maybe that was just, and I'm glad I'm learning this lesson early before, a certain level of success hits. Because I'm sure it's going to be even more invasive then with like the media. I'm sure of it. But at least now I'm prepared to not fuel that. Because sometimes you give an inch and people take a fucking mile. You share a little bit, you think you're just being open, and it's just coming from like a place of like innocence of wanting to like, oh, I love someone and I'm proud of, my love for someone, and I just want to share that my joy of that love with the world. But people don't always have the best intentions, and there's evil eye, and so I am very protective of my love life and my soulmate. So of course I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking put up with any of that shit. And so my perspective has dramatically shifted as of recent, where I won't be discussing that at all. And this is just in reference to like this person doing this sort of thing, and this is why. Just one reason why. And thanks for ruining it for everyone. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. And but yeah, but not. And so it's things like that where it just makes you not want to be as open. And it's just kind of, it's okay when people are coming from a good place, but when they're not, it's not okay. And so that's all I'm saying. And so I noticed a few days after that there's sort of like manipulation energy and like siphoning, but yet twisting it for content and making up shit. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. You are not going to use my fucking situation as content and then twist it to make your content be more like entertaining for yourself. Just like it was like, and it was kind of put off because I right when I find out that you're a spiritual practitioner that abuses your gifts and is fake or fraudulent and doing shit that's like does not inauthentic or not coming from a good place, when basically that's what a spiritual practitioner is supposed to be, facilitating healing and guidance and light. And when you see that people, and there's a lot of people that they don't, it's all about money and fucking popularity and success and at any expense. And I don't respect spiritual practitioners that like go about things like that. And so yeah, and so I drew that line in the sand once I noticed that and blocked her on like, and then I noticed like the reaction once I blocked her. I still kind of like checked in to see if there was a reaction, and there was. So I knew. I was like, oh yeah, spirit didn't lie. Not that I thought spirit did. I immediately was like, oh, I'm getting this message for a reason, I believe. And but sometimes you have weird dreams and you never want to misinterpret them. So I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and I don't jump the gun just based off a dream. But when I saw after the dream a few days later her behave that way, I was like, okay, now I see what you're talking about, spirit. Then a few days later, have this dream of that ex from my 20s that was like, did satanic curses on me, sabotaged me, slept with my roommate's boyfriend, was having sex with one of my bosses, was kicked me out of our apartment when I moved to Chicago and left me on the streets. Did lots of lied to me like about drugs and alcohol. I let him one time as a friend come stay in my apartment, said because he wanted to move back to Chicago, and I'd get him like a job at my get him hired at my job where I was a waiter, and he could stay at my apartment till he found his apartment. Completely used me as just like a fucking vacation, and did drugs and fucking alcohol and had no intention of actually, and then lied to me and said for a year that they were like in like Alcohol Anonymous. He was so insidious and just like, and for the longest time my self-esteem was so low that I allowed them to walk on me in my 20s in like an off and on relationship, and then in my 30s as just a toxic friendship that I was attached to because I didn't have a lot of friends and I didn't have any family. And so I think I clung to this weird friendship that I had, and we both kind of had this weird attachment, but it was just like I was kind of like the unconditionally loving, like empathically supportive sort of like energy, and he was always just abusing or taking advantage, and it was just like it was all a competition and this and that. It was just this really like terrible energy, and I was so gullible and naive and fucking just like an idiot, and like and no matter how many chances he got, I always thought, oh, he'll grow out of this. Surely he'll snap out of this. Surely he'll grow up. Surely he'll learn a fucking lesson. And it just got worse, 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 till where I was at a breakdown and literally kicked him. I was like, he was, when he had lied and was like in my apartment in Chicago saying he was come there, was just staying with me to find his place. And then he didn't take the job that I got him, didn't look for the apartment, went and started doing drugs and alcohol. And then and then was arguing and being an asshole to me in my own apartment. And I was like, he scared me because I thought he was going to physically assault me again. And I remember crying, and he was going off on me in my own apartment. I called my mother, and my mom was like, if he lays a finger on you, I will hunt him down. And I told him what she just said over the phone, and he was like infuriated when I said that to him, and he just started grabbing all his stuff. And then he had this little MIDI keyboard. It was like I have a huge 61 key MIDI keyboard for music production. We had this little $100 mini one, and the fact that he used me and lied to me that whole time, and then everything went down in that last moment, and I was like sobbing, and my mom's threatening him to get out of my apartment because I think he's screaming at me like he's gonna assault me like he did before when he was drunk years before. And he goes here like as it was some sort of consolation prize for all the shit he put me fucking through when he came and completely lied to me and used to me. And this was just as a friend. And I was like, wow, this is fucking crazy. I never spoke to him again. And then when I came back to Vegas, he was trying to harass me online through email, trying to get on my social medias and go in my comments. It was like insidious and really just like, And I saw that side to him in my 20s, but you would have thought by in, late 30s that he would have like stopped and just did it. And so that was enough of that. I was like done forever, and never even gave him a window of conversation, nothing ever again. I was completely done. So it was very strange, not really, that his spirit came to me, but it didn't feel like it was coming completely from a good place. And in the dream, I'm walking. This is just a few. This is just last week. And so there was a part of me that was like, "Oh, he's coming because he wants me to forgive him." And I will still always be the bigger person and say, I'm sorry too, just for my engagement in this toxic sort of like relationship in my 20s and friendship in our past. Even though I wasn't doing the things to you that you were to me, there were moments where we would get in these arguments, and it wasn't like we would get in like sort of like um that I wasn't proud of, like the way I would react to his sort of negative behavior. And so I was like, okay, it's Rosh Hashanah. Let's just clean slate and move this energy complete. I want this energy gone completely. So I was taking this like eclipse energy, this Kabbalah. Rosh Hashanah is all about removing that past residual negative energy and clearing it, so the new energy, the new positive energy, the new love, the new good friendships, the new things that are in alignment can come in, because you're clear. And sometimes you don't even realize there's this energetic, maybe like opening, that there's or something that's not resolved or completely like closed, so to speak. It's like I was like, for a reason, this is his spirit's coming in. And there was a part of me, so like in the dream, he's walking up behind me, and I felt afraid. And it wasn't the free. One time he was drunk and he physically assaulted me, and then one time we weren't talking, and we stopped talking, and I seen him at a nightclub one time, and he tried to talk to me, and I ignored him, and he came up and kicked me in the fucking leg at the nightclub, and then the bouncer just saw him do that and thought we were fighting, and I didn't even do anything back to him, but we both got kicked out. So him doing that, because I wouldn't talk to him, got me kicked out of a club. So that's the type of energy this person was, like, so like beyond crossing limits. And so yeah, in this dream too, it was like, that's almost like reminiscent of like in the dream, like he's like creeping up behind me in the dream, following me, and I felt scared, and I'm like, what is he up to? And so I was like, and then like in my head in the dream, I go, just confront the situation. So I turn around and I'm like, hey, like kind of like, what do you want? But hey, like just trying to be polite, like, you're following me, what do you want? But just being, kosher about it, not trying to like add fuel to any sort of like negativity. And um and there was a, like in dream, when your communication, it's more like telepathic, and so there was just this sort of like closure feeling of like, okay, I'm sorry, hug, okay, bye, you know what I mean? And I think he has like a lot of regret for burning the bridges he did with me and the way he treated me. I know that for sure. I have no shadow of a doubt about that. And but I wanted to release it just for myself, honestly. Like, I don't wish him any harm. I wish him well on his journey, but I will never allow him in my life ever again. I do not want even a conversation with him. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want him near my family or my love life or anything. Like, just no. I don't want anything to do with him. And I don't trust his like intentions. And even in the dream, it didn't feel like it was just, it felt like I'm going into this chapter where things are like getting really good for me. And now this person is coming out of the fucking woodwork and like wanting my attention. And it's not going to happen. If you think, we're going to rekindle any sort of friendship, it's never going to happen. And I wouldn't even put my love life in any sort of like jeopardy or like influenced by any one that from my past that was like so negative. But I took the opportunity as for what it was to like for closure of that energy. And in the dream, I think my spirit just handled it maturely, organically, and that was that. And so that's a lot of like what I was just talking about this, I think a few months back of like, that's what Rosh Hashanah is like all about. The month of Virgo with Rosh Hashanah is all about doing you're assessing the past year or your life or even past lives of any negative karmic and situations with as people that have not been energetically like resolved or cleansed. And so that's what it's just basically like a tool to do that, to bring mercy to the situation versus judgment. So when Rosh Hashanah is considered Judgment Day, and so the month of Virgo is always before that. Um, it's like your opportunity to get mercy because there is time and space in between action and judgment. In this world, we are given like that mercy, so to speak, to make corrections um, or repentance, which Kabbalistically they would really emphasize. Repentance is not just asking for forgiveness or offering forgiveness. It's about acknowledging the behavior that caused the harm in the first place and then making like a vow to not repeat that again. And so that's what true repentance is, not just forgiveness. It's, you know, changing the behavior, correcting the behavior. That's true repentance. And so it was interesting, like Indiana Jones, there was like a theme going on with like they popped up and I felt like, okay, Spirit was showing me this movie to curate with this episode. That scene where it's like, only the penitent man will pass. And then I looked up penitent and it's like repentance. And I was like, how funny that Spirit brings me this movie during right around Rosh Hashanah, which is all about repentance. Now, to me, that was like the key of not just Rosh Hashanah, but this whole portal, eclipse, autumn equinox. It's really like an opportunity, whatever spirituality you are like connecting to, or whether it's just astrology, um, that there's just a cosmic, energetic component or theme for the month of Virgin of Virgo, which is all about like becoming like a virgin, like a clean slate, like born again, renewed. You're cleansing all any sort of like negativity and starting from like a fresh, clean slate. And so it's like a virgin. He. Oh yeah, I was being funny, which is, did you see the theme for the ads? There was like this funny like ad where I was like, Madonna was like, did you see where Madonna was like asking the new pope to like speak out with the whole Palestine Israel war? And then apparently the pope was like, that's not my job to handle the chaos of the problems of the world. I'm here to study the gospel. And like Madonna was like, apparently, this is what this like ad said. So it was basically showing like a tweet of hers. I don't know if that was from X. And she was like, I'm so disappointed or whatever. I just thought like, how interesting. And I was doing this theme of like, it was kind of like I was making a point of like tonight because I did a few different like promotions with different themes going through. Oh yeah, about the misconceptions of like religion and spirituality, and like one of the quotes that says if religion calls it demonic, it's probably a path to God. Then I showed stuff from like Abraham Hicks or shamanic dreaming or the judges from Rosh Hashanah and Judaism or Kabbalah. It's like the three judges of that do the nullification of the vows, which was a ritual I did today, which is all about you do that with the burnt offering or like after the burnt offering, not the traditional ancient burnt offering where there was like an animal sacrifice. This is where you're just writing down your negativity that you've done to other people, writing down their names and burning the paper. Now I'm telling you, I did that today, and immediately, and Shaman Herman Oliveira brought this up last week in the New York Shaman Circle. He said, this was not in any reference to Rosh Hashanah. He was saying when you have some sort of, judgment or blockage with somebody because you've done something or said something that hurt them, and now you guys are in some sort of like either like lack of communication or blockage, to ask for forgiveness from the creator, write it down, and then burn it. And so literally I saw a shift today after I had done that this morning, and I was like, this is no fucking joke. The shit works. Highly recommend that ritual if you have some sort of like unresolved drama or conflict with someone, and that it's actually like by going to God with it, that God's the only one. You can't change that other person, but God can change the situation. And if you go to God and you repent, and then you do this physical ritual that's representative of it, and you mean it with sincerity, wow, jaw dropped. It was like where there was resistance for weeks was suddenly gone right after. I was like, fucking amazing. And it's interesting, like these portals and times or these new moons and these eclipses and these full moons, they're great opportunities to really shift energy. Because I notice sometimes the 2 weeks in between, it's always like really challenging. But once you get to that, window in time or that, portal energy, and then you activate these spiritual practices, the energy of or the power of the window in time or the portal or the new or full moon or eclipse or whatever it is, Kabbalistic window in time, really kind of energetically helps facilitate your intentions, magnify them, speed up the transmutation or transformation process. It's fascinating. Like the more I get into it and the more I learn like how to manifest better, because I've had so much blockages in lots of areas from my trauma, whether that's in love or in finances or in just like self-love or lots of things. I've been stuck in lots of areas for a long time, and I'm really having such amazing breakthroughs now, and years of spiritual work that I've like pushed through and dredged through and still felt resistance. And now I'm finally having these major breakthroughs. And it's like, oh, thank God, hallelujah, that I finally got through whatever was like not shifting. Like I needed some sort of like internal consciousness shift, or like to do something action oriented or embody something, or like what's it called, like when you embody, not imbue, integrate. Yeah, and so that's the thing why I'm really interested in like learning these modalities of somatic integration and practices is that I think I'm that's the area that's hardest for me, but is the most beneficial to me because of my trauma. And so I don't know why I have these on the whole time. I'll take them off. Is that sometimes I'll like do a lot of the spiritual work, and then if I'm not implementing like breath work or meditation or my yoga or exercise or cardio, I won't feel good, or I will feel like my intuition is like not as keen. Now, when I'm really in a state of like constant, like somatic, like practices, I think it really opens up your vessel. And so, yeah, this is where I want to go to with this is in the shamanic dreaming book. I took all these notes of like Carol Day really helps you use these techniques to facilitate connecting to your inner visionary. And so I want to read some of the stuff from there that I was really inspired by. So oh, and one other thing from the shamanic circle that was fucking fascinating. So another thing that I struggle with too is that damn, we're already at an hour and a half. Time flies, baby, when you're having fun. So I have sometimes problems with like I get too, could be another aspect of my hypervigilance or ADHD is that I get too enraptured with like do this, do that, go, 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 accomplish this, that, external, 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 that I don't slow down and work to where I'm like I'm, I'll do my prayers in the morning sometimes and I'll be like, I love you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you for this life, God. Thank you for your blessings, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying. And then I'm like, uh, sometimes I'm not calling on God in certain moments. I'm too just like interacting with like people and situations, and I forget to like incorporate God into the equation or spirit guides or angels other than when I'm just sitting down and doing like my prayers in the morning. Or if I do them in the evening, which it's more I do them like in the morning when I wake up. And so that was something where I was noticing from other spiritual practitioners was that they were saying like, I see them more, especially when they're doing tarot and things like that. You'll see them be like, thank you, spirit. Yes, spirit. This spirit. So I want to be more interactive. And so I was thinking that when we were doing the blindfold meditation in the New York Shamanic Circle Zoom class last week, and this was the craziest thing. So we did two probably like 10-15 minute meditations like that during the 2 hours, and I think it was the second one, and so I'm like blindfolded and I'm just like I'm literally thinking that because he's like he was facilitating the meditation, Herman, and shaman Herman, and he was like, what is spirit trying to tell you? And I was really clearly receiving spirit guidance. And I remember a few years back doing the same sort of practice and not feeling like I was hearing anything. And I noticed some of the people in the class were like, oh, I'm not getting anything, and I'm thinking about my Amazon package, outside, or this or that, or they're not even like able to. And so a lot of people, and I remember saying that to one of my friends in my 20s, that it's really hard for me to meditate because back then I was struggling with, I think, ADHD and hypervigilance as well. From that was in the heat of trauma, and I was like, I remember them trying to get me to meditate, and me just really like not being able to and putting it off or finding excuses or distractions. And when I would try to do it, I couldn't get present. I couldn't silence my mind, and it's been a struggle for me to like let go like that. And so it is amazing. Like it is such an important thing for me to incorporate into my like daily practice, is that like yoga, meditation, breath work. Find it immensely healing to the nervous system, to people with PTSD, ADHD, all sorts of things. And so I would love to like get certified in breath work. I don't know if I mean, it's like a dream. Like maybe one day I would be certified in yoga. I don't know if I have the drive to maybe do all that, but definitely breath work. But I would consider yoga, and there's other, I think, somatic practices that I would like to like look into, because I think they're so effective for people who have been through like what I've been through, and and also I like the idea of like being a facilitator for people, because I think because I've been through extreme trauma, I maybe understand extreme trauma maybe a little bit. I have more compassion because I know what it's like. And so sometimes I notice sometimes with certain spiritual practitioners where they're a little bit pushy and they're not as sensitive. And I understand you're trying to get your student from point A to Z, but sometimes you're going to get them further with a little more compassion, and than you are going to by like making them feel bad or feel weak or like embarrassing them or having a freaking attitude or making them feel stupid. There's certain practitioners where there's this one girl where she talks a lot like that and uses like comparisons and things where I'm just like I don't, it's not like I don't like think it's like helpful, and it's just definitely not the way that I would handle people that have gone through extreme trauma or make assumptions about them. There is a sort of like envy energy with her, so I think it's beyond just that. I'm not going to really get into that, but I was just picking up like how strange, that some people are like, they try to cover up. I don't think even sometimes they're aware of their own judgment or competitiveness or jealousy. It's interesting, but I'm good at clocking it in other people when they do that to me. And so, and I just feel like there is no competition. And I think when it comes to like just because someone doesn't put their entire life history of trauma on a bed of roses for you to investigate doesn't mean that they haven't been through complete absolute terror and hell and back for more years and more time than you could imagine. And just because they are resilient and they put on, a happy face and choose to be high vibrational and choose to see the good and choose to push forward, it doesn't mean that they haven't been through extreme trauma and that there aren't effects in the body, in the energy, in the emotions, in the mental, that you are completely fucking unaware of. And meanwhile, you're trying to compare this one traumatic event that you've experienced to 20 years of extremely uh, traumatic things. Like, you should never be comparing yourself like that. A lot of people do that with like racism, like a lot of like ignorant um, people have done that to like, different races that have experienced like slavery or like trauma or like, whitewashing or whatever throughout history where they're like genocides, and there's certain people that just make excuses. Well, why isn't there white day, or why isn't there straight pride? It's like they don't fucking get it. They just don't get it. And it's like, oh my God, like, take several seats, please, before you walk a mile in my fucking shoes. Thank you very much. And then maybe you'll understand why it is who I am and why it is I'm gifted in areas that maybe you're envious of. It's not about a comparison. It's about we're all at different and so if somebody has like maybe a higher calling or a higher position, or there's some sort of like chosen one, and you're trying to like diminish them just because you feel like competitive, like, well, why aren't I, I'm, better in these areas, and why have they been chosen by God or anointed with this big sort of mission, and and even though this, that said person is not acting better than anyone, you feel competitive out of your own envy and jealousy of like comparison. I just think that's like from someone who is genuinely just bonding with you and like supportive of you and like loving you, and like, and you're just like creating this weird, like energetic, like internal narrative that's written all over your face and all over your energy. And it's like every time I'm like picking up on it with you, and it's just like it's such a just like a turn off as like a friend. This is just a girl practitioner where I'm like, I'm not like vibing with your like vibe. It's very entitled. It's very so whatever. I don't want to go on about this, but I just wanted to make that clear. It's like I don't think that shit's cool. And sometimes these people will put out things and don't think I'm not clocking it, because I am. Especially if it's directed at me. A lot of times spirit will like bring it to my attention. Like in a sort of like algorithm ish sort of like sense. Like spirit's like, oh, here, look what so and so is saying in this recording, and it's like towards you, and why spirit is showing you that. That's how like clairvoyance can work as well. And never to like assume, because it's interesting too is you'll hear a lot of these spiritual practitioners lately now say they'll do their like tarot reading, and they'll like preface like in the beginning like, oh, and for anyone who has mental psychosis, exit left. They're like you know what I mean. They're like making. I'm like, I doubt if that person has psychosis they even know what the fuck that word means. Anyways, I just thought that was funny when I was like keep noticing like spiritual tarot readers like preface that before they do an online like generalized collective reading, because you'll look in the comments how many people are like, you see sometimes people that have mental some people are intuitive and then when it's like a message for them, but some people are just like, it is like a psychosis where like, or a mental what's the fucking word, mental, not disability, mental health issue, where they're reading into things that are not even about them, that are like just general, and they're letting it like create delusions. There's the like, it's two different things. Somebody who's truly clairvoyant and gifted, it's very two different things. But you always want to make sure that you're certain that what you're picking up on is true, and you're not having a Three's Company moment, where that was like the funny sort of like, if you ever watched the show Three's Company, where they were like three roommates, and one would walk in and see a scenario or overhear just part of a conversation, and it would look a certain type of way because they didn't hear the first part of the conversation, or and they would just like in their head spin, their wheels start spinning, and they're interpreting what's going on in a way that's not true. And that was what was always funny about that show, because they would always use that setup. And that's kind of like sometimes what people do, is that they create conflict and drama where it really is not, like necessary. And it's because of it's just because of misunderstandings or assumptions, or reading into things in a way that is like not true. So that happens a lot. You always want to make sure you're not doing that. When I do that, I try to like take accountability for when I have done that with people. And there's times where I've taken things the wrong way, interpreted things the wrong way, and reacted and then regretted it. So it's something to be aware of. So yeah, let's go. Oh yeah, so in the shamanic circle, I said in the meditation, I'm like, okay, I feel like spirit's telling me to acknowledge my spirit guides and interact with my spirit guides and the creator and my angels much more regularly. Then I hear this door open, and on someone's Zoom, like somebody had their microphone not muted, and you hear this door crack, like a door opening. And I was like, oh, wow, that is a fucking sign from spirit that right as I was thinking that, which I felt I was channeling from spirit when he was asking us, what is spirit trying to tell you while we were blindfolded? And I was like, heard that door go right as I thought that. I was like, oh, that's spirit saying, ding, 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 you're on the fucking money. And so I knew, I was like, okay, spirit wants me to be more. And it's not the first time I've had other people say to me that I need to do that more. And I don't know why I struggle with like, I just sometimes I'm so busy and going through the motions, and I have so much going on, which I'm really trying to set boundaries and like move into this new era. Especially things are shifting where I think I'm going to be in a more peaceful, balanced, healthier, like sort of situation when it comes to like, my future, which I don't want to get much into detail at all. But I'm saying I think I'm really focusing on setting, and I just set boundaries this week with even, my mother, of like, okay, I need to focus on these things now. It is my time. These things are coming in. God is has a mission for me, and I have to create these energetic boundaries, and you have to be understanding of that. I have to go back to work, and I may have to travel, and I'm going to eventually get married, maybe sooner than you think, and and fucking, and yeah, and like I need you to like respect my boundaries. I love you from the bottom of my heart. You are a major priority to me. But sometimes even with like family members, you have to set these boundaries, especially when you're having like a relationship or you're having a career, and they want you to help them with things that are not totally your responsibility. And maybe you have sacrificed and given to them for many years, and now it's time where God is like moving you, and they're not liking it. Well, it's kind of like what was going on with me and my mother, and I had to like, and now we're good, but it's like there's still that like a little bit of raw emotion there, where it's like it does make me sad because I love her so much and I'm so protective over her, but she understands that it's for the greater good, not just for like my purpose with like helping like humanity and people, and but for our family longevity and like financial support, because I will always look out and take care of like, my mother as best as I can, especially if I'm in I get, I could be, the shift in my entire family's you know what's the word, lineage, by really being successful in, the field I'm heading in. So I really am setting my mind and, like, trying to go far. I'm shooting for the stars. All right, let's read from Shamanic Dreaming. Oh wait, one more story and then we'll go into Shamanic Dreaming. So when we were talking about the kinetic thing, I forgot to tell you this story. So last week I have this crazy thing where I'm like doing prayers of protection for me and and family and stuff. And I was, after those two dreams, I was like putting these specific protection prayers into effect and asking for extra protection and to put a bubble around me and my loved ones. And it was specifically like, it was like an extra sort of additive because of these two weird dreams of like people with unsavory energies coming up in my energetic field and dream state. So I was like, what is this all about? I just want to energetically set some sort of like bubble boundary of protection with the archangels and God and my, spirit guides. And so I did. And I specifically said, God, please strengthen this, or, like bubble of protection around me. So then right after I'm done, I go to the sliding glass doors and I'm just kind of looking out, drinking my coffee, and out of fucking nowhere, this like sparrow looking bird comes flying, like, here's the glass, flying directly as if there was no glass there. It would have fucking hit me in the face. Slams into the glass right in front of my face, and it didn't fall on the ground. It just kind of like fluttered around for a second and then flew into a tree. So I wasn't completely, didn't die or wasn't completely injured where it was fell on the ground. It still flew to this tree because maybe it wasn't going as fast as it would take to kill it or whatever. But I was so like initially just like disturbed, like, what the fuck? That thing was like darting like as if it was going to hit me in the face. And I was like, I also knew that my energy was being magnetized by spirit, because it was just this past week where I could feel my energy was being ramped up. And so I think it was like, this is what I felt like it was telling me in that moment, was that my fear of like making sure I'm protected, because I'm stepping into like a more magnetic time in my life where there's going to be a lot of energies and eyes on me. And it was showing me that something that was trying to get at me, like this bird is like darting, trying to hit me in the face. There was this energy field of like, this bubble, like I had just asked for. It was like God was like, okay, see, I'm showing you that we heard your prayer and we are, reciprocating. And you have this bubble of protection around you. It was just like symbolic. And that was mind blowing, because I knew that's exactly why that happened. Because it was so out of the fucking ordinary. It was like, what? Like, why the fuck I'm always like, going in the backyard. I've never had that fucking happen in my entire life. For a bird to just come flying as if it was like going to hit me in the face and slam into a fucking glass sliding door. It was so fucking crazy. I was just like shocked. But also, and I was glad that the bird wasn't like dead or could still fly, but I was relieved about that, but felt bad for the bird. I was like, ugh. But it was almost like it was just like some sort of like some sort of spiritual force was like using that scenario to like show me some sort of like mirror some sort of like reflection that my prayers were answered, and that so I could really just like trust that spirit is protecting me. All right. That was that was like a story I was like really fascinated to share. Okay. So I wrote down a lot of the topics from shamanic dreaming that I thought were really helpful. Also, in the shamanic class, we talked about Pachacuti, which means upside down world, where things just seem like upside down, or it's a reference to when things are really negative, like a pandemic, or like he talked about when the Spanish attacked. Was it like the Incan tribe? I don't know if it was like the Spanish Inquisition, but he was basically saying like they came in and basically tried to like colonize, and so that was what. And then there was also an emperor called Pachacuti, who like I think built stuff on Machu Picchu and Peru, and it's just like really fascinating. Like he was telling the story about this emperor, and it was interesting because I had already been choosing like curating the emperor card to go in like the theme of like I came across this like definition of the emperor card, and I was like, oh yeah, let's explore the emperor card. And then organically, in my shamanic class they're talking about this emperor Pachacuti, and I just loved the. So it took me to the song by Tori Amos called Upside Down, and my shaman was talking about even racism, and in the song Upside Down by Tori Amos she's talking about racism, and she's like, my daddy would scream or something about loving a black boy, and then my daddy would scream, which that's what I love about Tori Amos, because she's such a brilliant singer songwriter, and even if she's covering a song, she just really addresses things in her songs that like a lot of people don't. And that's what I love about shaman Herman Oliveira, Oliveira, or however you say his last name, is that he was bringing up topics that are like important to me. And I was like, I felt like I'm really vibing and resonating with this group. I just felt like I love this vibe. I love studying shamanism. It just feels authentic, and like um, it just resonates with me on so many different levels. All right, so and I see why so much of it has just organically come into my life through various people, and it's like a call. Oh yeah, so we should just start there. So this is chapter 2 is the calling. So that's funny because Spirit just led us right into that. So I'm going to read about the calling a little bit, tuning, earth tuning, and then like the visionary quest. So we'll just do a little bit there. And I don't want to go too long into it because I have so much content in here. Also too with the penitent man will pass. I get this channeled song U2 Vertigo. And so, when he does that in the Indiana Jones, when he goes, the penitent man will pass, like he's trying to figure out the next step of the booby traps where he's trying to get to the grail. And he's like through these biblical passages. And then he realizes it goes ding, ding, ding. Oh, kneel before God, kneel. And then he kneels and that fucking blade almost slices his fucking head off. So I'm like making the ad for the song with that a photo of the only the penitent man shall pass, and it says kneel, and it shows the blade. It was like a meme, and all of a sudden I hear channeled in my head, U2 Vertigo. Hello, hello, we're at a place called Vertigo. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. But you give me something, I can feel your love teaching me how. Your love is teaching me how to kneel. So your love is teaching me how to kneel was the fucking thing. And I was like, wow, like this is how I'm talking about. Like spirit will just like lead me down these fucking rabbit holes of like, and you'll get these like little breadcrumbs or diamonds, of just like spiritual like oomph. Spiritual in Kabbalah, Michael Berg would always say spiritual kisses from the universe. These like epiphanies or these yeah. Anyways. All right, so let's read about the calling. Act 1. I need a little drink. See, now my voice is getting hoarse. Ugh. I don't need to be up all fucking night. I'm just gonna sip a little bit of that energy drink. Oh yeah, and I gotta forget not to do the apples either. I have a little popcorn. I was like, okay, since we're talking about Indiana Jones, gotta have some popcorn. It's movie night, bitches. No. I really don't eat snacks lately at all except fruit. So this is like a special little treat for the podcast. I think there's like fat from the butter. It's probably not something I should regularly have. All right, calling. Act 1 will commence shortly. Are you ready to open up the dimensions and bring your inner calling to the fore? Here we begin an act of potential and focus. So please prepare for potential great openings. So we begin into a play about calling we step. Scene 1, heading the calling. Vision and visionary. Excuse me, I know I'm eating and talking at the same time. Excusez-moi. My parents would have had a fucking meltdown if I did that. That's precisely why I'm going to now. The word vision refers to the faculty or state of being able to see. Oopsie. Oh, don't be fucking up my notes. Sorry. The word vision refers to the faculty, or state of being able to see. The word vision can also be used to define the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Someone who works in this way is known as a visionary. A few years ago, I started to use the word visionary to define the practice I was developing when I received a strong message in a dream that what the world needs in these times is mythically oriented people who can hold a strong and inclusive vision for the future. Amen to that. Visionary feels apt to describe a future looking way that can be most beneficial for our planet. As an artist and writer, I also love and value the power of imagination and creativity. Visioning has a lot of imagination and creativity wrapped up in it too. The triangle of knowing, nature, and trust. And she also refers to those as the 3 pillars. Over the years of developing a practice that helps vision to open in people, I have created a formula. I love when people create formulas like this. My old friend Parashakti, which we don't speak anymore, and she moved back to Israel, but we had a few issues and like a mutual like friendship. It's like we basically had a fall out with a mutual friend and it caused conflict between our friendship. So it is what it is. I tried to salvage, but some people are stubborn and don't want to take accountability for themselves. So it is what it is. Some people like have like a victim mentality sometimes, and they want to hold other people accountable, but they don't want to take accountability for themselves, and they're in complete denial. And that's how I felt about that situation. So that's that. I forgive her, and peace be with you. Over the years of developing a practice that helps, well, she developed her own unique sort of like formula. So I love when practitioners get original and create these like unique sort of like, formulas or diagrams or outlines or whatever you want to call it. This can be applied to help us enter a space where connection, embodied practice, and open mindedness can all be achieved. The formula holds the circle as its symbol with a triangle within this and then a dot in the center. The center is presence. The three corners of the triangle are knowing, nature, and trust. And the circle is what I call the wholeness template. The gaze of wholeness surrounding everything is important with this work because it allows what goes beyond the story to come in and hold space. This opens up the possibility for healing and flow that goes beyond what we could ordinarily imagine. The wholeness template represents a place for everything that goes on beyond the constraints of what we are led to believe in the everyday world. I believe that coming back to an investment to place ourselves in wholeness is the key to entering the mythical framework that I speak of in the preface. I call the formula Presence and the Three Pillars. Chapter 1, Presence and the Three Pillars. Presence is the central pole of the entire visionary practice. It is what runs through everything. It is the act of being present. See what this is what I was just saying. People with like ADHD or PTSD or hypervigilance or hyperactivity, whatever. These type of things are like what helps you learn how to be present and heal that trauma or that's almost like the manifestations of the trauma, these behavioral, these behavioral behaviors. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It is what runs through everything. It is the act of being present and of not running away or rushing. Hellier. That's me. That's me when I like try to implement daily meditation and yoga. No, but I'm pushing through it and I'm making myself. Because once I get in the flow and then I'm unstoppable, it's that initial getting into like a regular consecutive sort of like consistent, that's the word, consistent practice. You got to make it consistent. That's why if you can make it a daily practice, I mean, you've won the war. It is the act of being present and of not running away and rushing. Presence is when we can unconditionally, while holding awareness and compassion. Wait, say that again. Presence is when we can unconditionally, while holding awareness and compassion, be able to be present with what is. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, baby. Love that. I see presence as a place of power and courage. It's like the foundation. It is a stance that takes us out of dialogue and duality and takes us into a space of observation. Yep. Getting silent. Shutting the fuck up. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny because my mother is very hyper vigilant and she talks a lot. And God love her and I love her, but something she has like struggled with and had influenced me, and I really work against my own like not being like that, because not only do I have like additional trauma added to that sort of stuff, so I love having people around me that are like anchors and bring me at peace and like slow me down and get me centered. That's my love language. Anchor me, baby. Do me nice and slow. Just kidding. I'm not, but yeah. So yeah, I just find that so attractive. Somebody who, well, basically my soulmate who's like so like centered. I love centered energy. I find highly attractive. Someone who's powerfully peaceful and intuitive, sexiest thing in the world to me. Someone who anchors me, centers me, listens, connects with me on a deeper level. That's my baby. I see presence as a place of power and courage. It is a stance that takes us out of dialogue. Oh, yeah, I just said that. It allows a meeting with the heart of any matter. Presence is the land where the visionary hangs out. Okay. It is a land of free of judgment, advice, or overlay. My personal feeling of when I get to this place of being able to be present is like the air conditioning comes on. It feels cool and disentangled, but also very kind and loving. I agree. With presence as a central pole, the three pillars sit as a triangle of what I refer to as the concepts. See, and then there's like a little drawing of like a guy. Presence, knowing, nature, trust, with the triangle. And he's chilling under the trees, speaking to trees. Oh, yeah, I was going to use that song. Maybe I'll use that tomorrow. Remind me to do that. Speaking with trees. When I advertise that the video's up. Because I put that into my curation and then forgot about using it. Because this is what she talks about that here. And I believe we were talking about that in the shamanic circle as well. Yeah, we were. So I was like, instantly, Tori Amos has a song called Speaking with Trees. And I was like, okay, I'm adding this to the playlist for this episode. Okay, a concept is a central principle or idea. It is where conception happens. You can see how this leads us to an original impulse. We are looking to allow. Did I just spit popcorn on my book? Ew. Are you not embarrassed? Okay, it is where the conception happens. You can see how this leads us to an original impulse. We are looking to allow the original powerful impulse to come through in visionary work. So, engaging with concepts in a good way to build a means for this to happen. The three pillars, pillar nature. Nature can be likened to essence, it is the inherent qualities or character of anything. Nature is the first pillar of the visionary model. I use the term innate nature to suggest that we have an inherent way of being that is akin to nature. Nothing in nature pretends to be anything else unless it is meant to, is camouflage for survival. I like that. I remember reading that part and being like, oh, I like this. And now this acknowledgement. The members of the nature world who do change form do so. Sorry, I had a popcorn kernel on the roof of my mouth. Do so for a specifically programmed and consistent reason. Humans, on the other hand, are shapeshifters extraordinaire. We can merge, absorb, project, take on, and consume power and identity. We have such a gift, but sadly, we have mainly forgotten to set a way to use this gift wisely. Oh my god, these popcorn kernels are like fucking choking me. Uh, you, we have such a gift, but sadly, we have mainly forgotten to set a way to use this gift wisely. Those who do use it often do so unconsciously for power mongering means. This means that our innate nature can be covered up. The skills in shapeshifting are truthfully the tools of the visionary practice. We will be working through becoming more conscious of these skills. I'm sorry. Um, and releasing what has been taken on or acted out as cover ups to better reveal our own true or innate natures. This will happen through visiting and immersing ourselves in the concepts. Okay. Pillar knowing. Knowing is connected with having knowledge or awareness about something. It is a word that is often used when something is known that is hidden to many. Mhm. One of the skills of the visionary is having this rare knowing. Although I do believe personally it can be developed in anyone given the right circumstances. This is the second pillar. Third pillar, trust. Trust is a firm belief in reliability or truth. It is the third pillar, the development of discernment to be able to operate from this place of trust is key to the visionary's ability to operate. Exactly. That was like when Spirit was giving me that dream about that girl, and I was like, it was like a discernment of like discerning, oh, is this really a message or just like a random nightmare, you know? And I discerned that there was something to it. The Spirit was showing me, obviously, for a reason. All right, meeting the pillars, nature. Where did nature begin? One of my most mind opening things to do is to remember that I have been here since the beginning of time. If I hadn't been, then I wouldn't be able to feature as I am now. Hell there. That's like me. Old soul. I own my place at the beginnings of life and the great darkness, light formation of atoms and everything. I mean, I don't know for sure if I'm like an old soul. I know I'm linked to an old soul, but I don't really have any total remembrance of past lives, is what I'm saying. I've had a few dreams over time where I felt like it was an indication of a past life, but I've never had like a full on. And one time I had a Kabbalistic astrologer say I had these different past lives where she gave me a few details, but it didn't seem very like accurate. And I was like, where are you getting this? She had like no answer. It was bizarre. It just felt kind of very like a wishy-washy sort of like random like, huh? Like where'd you get that? And it didn't even feel like really relevant, honestly. But that's one of the things I want to study is accessing Akashic records and things like that to help people with past life correction. I almost got this book on the subject, and then when I went back to get it, it was bought. And then I took a photo of the book and I couldn't find it, but I think there might be some better books on the subject. And I do have some podcasts on the subject of Akashic Records. So, Supernal David season 2, we will definitely delve into the learning about the Akashic Records and how to be somebody that does readings. One of these spiritual metaphysical stores in Vegas, they have somebody who's gifted at doing that, which I would love to get a reading, but it's pretty pricey for my budget at this point, or lack thereof a budget. But that's just momentary. Things are about to shift very quickly for the better. And so it is. So if I hadn't been there, I wouldn't be able to feature as I am now. I own my place at the beginnings of life and the great darkness light formation of atoms and everything. Read this Big Bang Theory as one of the versions of the beginnings of creation. They have a Kabbalistic book that's all about the Big Bang thing. Excuse me. That's almost like the book of Enoch is almost like that, where like, you know, Metatron is like taking like going through all these different like early stages of like creation and what it looks like and what he's seeing. It's interesting. The cosmos begins expanding in the split of a second, and in this time turns nothing into something the size of an orange. In 3 minutes, the universe has heated into being, a hot soup of electrons, quarks, and other molecules. Then follows a long cooling period, and with this cooling down, quarks can turn into protons and neutrons. The universe becomes a very hot fog. 300,000 years later, electrons will combine with protons and neutrons and form atoms, mostly hydrogen and helium. Light can shine after 1 billion years from source. Things really cool down, and hydrogen and helium gases coalesce to become galaxies. Smaller clumps of gas coalesce to become the first stars. After 15 billion years of galaxies gathering together, the first stars die and throw heavy elements into space. These eventually form into new stars and planets. The universe is 15 to 20 billion years old. Wow. The Earth is 5 to 6 billion years of age. Dang! How beautiful is all that? It's beautiful. Our heritage, Our heritage is a deep foundation of spaciousness, temperature, birthing, and discovery. Our history as the elements is a long, passionate, powerful, patient, devoted, alchemical, and mysterious affair. Being, concept, nature. Oh, wait. Wait. I meant to, damn it. I meant to do chapter 2, The Calling. Okay, so this was the chapter that I really liked. Enough of that Big Bang shit. I'm like, even in Kabbalah, I was like, okay, next. I mean, I got, once you heard it once, you heard it 1,000 times. Okay, so now it is time. This is called calling. So now it is time for you to acquaint yourself with your personal calling and to make a place which will store your calling. When you picked up this book, what was it that you were feeling called to do or experience? Oh my God. In this chapter, you will spend some time opening up whatever it is that it is your what? Whatever it is that is your desire. That was a tongue twister. First of all, take some time to write down your intention. Why do I keep spitting popcorn? Are you fucking kidding me? So nasty. Ew, did I just wipe butter on my face? Hells no. I'm glad I'm almost done with this because it got to go. In this chapter, you will spend some time opening up whatever it is that you desire. That is your desire. First of all, take some time to write down your intention. Feel into it. What is important to you? What would you like to feel like or know better when you have completed this book? What is looking for healing or reconnection? How do you feel? How do you feel you're calling? I'm sorry, I'm like giggly. I don't know what my problem is. Write this down and make a special board that you can pin your intention to or a box. You can place it inside. Place it in that box. Where am I? Now choose some images to surround your intention with. These can be photos of places, people, ancestors, deities, or animals that inspire you. If you choose a box, then you can place objects like special stones inside. The idea is that you energize your intention with things that you find powerful and supportive. I've always done this since I was like young, especially with my altars. I'm always like love little knickknacks and things and that represent stuff or whatever. I do that with like this podcast. I'm always like have all little things like on the desk when I'm curating the photos and all that. Now make a visit to your special tree or nature place you have located. See, now we're talking about the speaking with trees. That's what I was referring to. Sounds like a kernel. Whisper or speak your intention to connect with your calling and everything that goes with that to your tree. I love this. You may also choose to leave something with the tree to represent your calling and place it inside of an opening or hang it loosely from one of the branches. You can write notes about this too. I really love this. And we have like a garden in the backyard with some trees. So I like the idea of being able to just go in my backyard. Or we have a tree up front too. So I'm going to start talking to I do talk to the garden when I'm back there. I do. I talk to the land. I talk to the fairies. I talk to the elementals. I talk to the angels. I talk to the flowers and the trees and the bees. All right, this is the part I really like. Tuning. And the tuning was probably my favorite. I thought this was really helpful. And then we'll move on because we're already at 2 hours and 20 minutes. I want to like do some oracle deck reading. So I already pulled 2 cards for this in the very beginning, which influenced. I pulled a card during the shamanic circle and it said mindful groupthink. And I was like, how strange is it that I'm going back into being in this group? And I pull, and the shaman kept saying about mindfulness. Shaman Herman Oliveira kept saying that during and then it says, so it's the card is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. So it says mindful groupthink. And then there's like a rose with it. And then I put my eagle underneath it. And then later on when I was pulling like Zohar references, the Bible portion was talking about a rose with like an eagle and like King David. And I was like, this is so fucking weird. Like, just synchronicities with me are like off the fucking charts. Um, and the whole thing that he kept saying mindful during my first class in years, and then it was like a group like situation. So, and I didn't read the booklet yet because I pulled the card and I was like, okay, we'll read what the card means during the podcast. And then I picked one last night during the eclipse. And which was just like synchronized too with like, it looks like, like the crossing. And I'm totally at this crossroads. Everyone's talking about this portal that we're like going through. Rosh Hashanah, autumn equinox, the partial solar eclipse is like this total portal of like crossroads of like the past and the future. So I was like, and even the themes from the movie where there's like Indiana Jones is having to cross that cavern and it looks as though there's nothing, not a bridge. And then he notices that there's is like an invisible type bridge. And then it's the painting picture shows like the guy's trying to cross it and some of the guys falling to the ground and then he's going for the grail. So it shows like the grail floating in the like a circle and see like a circle of light on this like bridge. Just everything was like theming up. I was like, this is so fucking cool. That's what I love. It's just like when you pull cards and there's no shadow of doubt that spirit really like curated that you pulled that fucking card for whatever message you're meant to hear or share. I live for that shit. And that's the thing too. Sometimes you don't even have to do like a lot of cards, or sometimes just picking like less is more. You know what I mean? That was part of the biblical portion, I think last week as well, was less is more. Because I was reading, I think it's Vayashlach. It was emphasizing less is more. Yeah, somebody should tell me that when I'm curating an episode of the podcast. People do tell me, they're like, less is more, David. They're like, you don't need to drive yourself bonkers or like have 30,000 subjects or read fucking 2 entire books. But I'm trying to give you the goods. I want it to be packed with gems. Okay. But I get what you're saying, yes. Less is more, what's simple is true, like the Jewel song. Okay. Where was I? Okay, this is my favorite part. Tuning. Because this is the problem for people that have like PTSD and things like this. This is how to like open up your body to, or attuning yourself to receive messages if you're feeling like there's some sort of block. So the process of tuning begins 13 years ago when I first started to write shamanic and visionary courses. My work operated with the title Restoring Wholeness, the Shaman's Craft. The truth is that restoring wholeness is what any healing project is about. The word healing comes from, it looks like, I don't even know what that word is. Like, it looks like HXLEN, but the X doesn't look like a normal X. And then there's like a little like dot thing over the end. So hexalen, which means to become whole. In any restorative work, we are always looking to draw back in what has been rubbed out. That sounded wrong. Suppressed or missed. I have found that following. I have such a fucking dirty mind. Like a fucking teenager, I swear. I have found that following calling is such a direct, passionate, and deep way to draw what is true back in. I think that we are programmed to belong and bring everything back together, really. When we attune to the inner calling, then the path to restoration can be invigorating and meaningful. Remembering and prioritizing listening to calling as a first step is a revolutionary and powerful act. Exactly. Listening is like key. Hunty. Coffee. Um, In tuning, we set up the visionary quest, mark and plot the territory, and find some helpers that we will walk with on our journey. Plot that territory, honey. Find them helpers. Earth tuning. So this is where I love when it starts getting into like it starts talking about like sacred sites and song lines and ley lines. Um, which I love this line where it says the sacred sites can be felt as nodules holding the vibration of these pathways as they cross and are portals to their information and healing energy and like certain like energy lines. Yeah. See, working with the energy lines and sacred sites is always a way of tapping into the earth system. I love shit like that. There's another thing where I think it's that psychic medium, Cindy, what's her last name? She's like pretty successful. She was like a lot on Discovery Channel and like paranormal shows. I can't remember her last name. Anyway, she would do a thing where it's what is it called? Where you put your hands on the ground and you can tap into the land and things that have occurred on the land. The words like on the tip of my tongue. It's not coming to me. Maybe it'll come to me. If it comes to me, I'll bring it up again. Spirits, what is that called? Spirit guides. See, I'm including my spirit guides. Spirit guides, what is that called? It's with a C. You're taking too long. No, I'm just kidding. Calligraphy is something like. I'm just kidding. What is this? It's gonna drive me crazy. Anyways, I regress. Okay, earth tuning. The earth has always been calling for us to step back into flow with it. The earth wants us to know ourselves again. As Chief Seattle wrote in his famous letter to President Pierce in 1885, we are part of the earth and it is part of us. Our consciousness resides here. Our cells are made of everything that the earth provides. It doesn't make sense to see ourselves and the earth with all its creatures and beings as separate entities. Put this way, we can see that the calling is within each of us. Our part in the show of life right now is to once more find a way to step back into flow. Visionary work begins when we open up to vision. This opening up to requires, I like this part. So, visionary work begins when we open up to vision. This opening up requires making the space, time, and personal availability to communicate with the visionary part of the soul. Vision can open when we least expect it, but it will find its way through when we make space for it in our lives. Whether we do this through being present, taking time to walk in nature, drawing, writing, drumming, or simply relaxing, a pulse will sound. I like this part. A pulse will sound announcing that we are ready for a deeper part of us to open up and let itself be felt. Um, the next part of the process we will then be to build a relationship with the deeper part and what communicates with us there. The practice of establishing a connection with the visionary part of our nature is what can be called attuning. Love that. Attuning to what attuning to who we are on a deeper level than the everyday thinking and organizational self will bring us into the realm of soul. Unbounded by the definition of form and personality, soul can cross borders and pick up on the communication realm with everything else. I love that how it's referred to as the communication realm. This is the way of visionary consciousness. Allowing this attuning to happen is the first step in bringing visionary consciousness back into being. Babies and children attune naturally. Attuning is the way of spontaneous being and play. I wonder what the world would be like or would look like if everyone were taught how to stay in touch and with and develop this practice of attuning as maturing adults. I am guessing that everything would be able to communicate with everything else again. The way of the visionary is the practice of the listening one. When we open to listen, when we can allow the messages we need to hear come through. Yeah, we have to. Oh, excusez-moi. When we open to listen, we can allow them. So listening is like such an important part. The way of the visionary is the practice of the listening one. There's a picture of him with a buffalo or some sort. Yeah, I think he's talking about a buffalo in the next page or something. Today, as part of my writing process, I took myself off on a run to attune to this book and to ask for some signs. Yeah, he talks about a buffalo here. It was a few years ago that this work was conceived when I worked with a manifestation project with the earth element. As mentioned earlier, Buffalo came through with a message. The message was that my personal calling was to help bring back a real earth community by creating work that, and look at her now, the book's in my hands. You're doing the damn thing, Carol Day. You sure are. As mentioned, I love this book, by the way. As mentioned earlier, Buffalo came through with a message. The message was that my personal calling was to help bring back a real earth community by creating work that could support people and the earth to come back into flow together again. I have a favorite place on one of my running routes where there is a grove of oak trees and a river. Today, as I approached it, I found 4 Highland cattle sitting and standing beneath the oaks. New neighbors on this land, I spent ages standing with them and listening to the deeper messages that their presence as buffalo in this realm was bringing to me. This is what I mean by earth attuning. The earth is weaving with us all the time. We just need to be available to hear and see and be clear about prioritizing listening to our own calling to notice the responses. Tuning will set you up with material that will support the opening of the attuning pathways just like this. It will also support you to develop ways to hold yourself and the calling you personally hold as a priority in your life. You will just need to read through the focus material in each section. Then you can look to the information in the section for setting up. This will outline the ideas for the section and support you in moving your vision forwards and in allowing the calling of yourself and the earth to come through. The earth speaks to us through those who give space to allow a deepening. Together, we work to allow and honor the space coming back into place. In calling, we enter into a quest with the earth and our life. The quest is the visionary quest. All right, so I want to do this last 3 pages and then we're done. And then we're going to go into our reading. I like this part because it talks about the land part. Which I still can't think of that word. Why is it just like it's like on the edge of my mind and I can just not hear the pronunciation. It's with a C. I could still see the show where she's like putting her hands down on the ground, and she would do it multiple times, and she's like, I'm doing this type of, or it's almost like a word like collective, but it's not. It's like, do I have to Google this shit? How to, where's the microphone? Why is it not letting me do it? What? That's crazy. Okay, anyways. How to psychically read land with your hands. Psychometry. It wasn't a C. It was a. Yeah, fuck. That annoys me that I didn't remember that. Psychometry. The psychometry is you put your hands on the land and you can pick up on. Based on traditions of psychic and spiritual practices, psychically reading land with your hands is a skill derived from psychometry. This practice involves holding or touching an object or place to receive psychic impressions. Tyler Henry does this too with objects when he's doing readings. An object or a place to receive psychic impressions about its history, energy, or past events. By touching the land, a practitioner, Cindy Kaza, that's her name, who does psychometry. A practitioner can attune to its energies and receive information through the senses. Then it tells you how to do that. All right, but so the Visionary Quest focus, Visionary Quest preparation. We will be beginning a practice of attuning into the land about and allowing the senses to open by looking at vision quests, sacred sites, and song lines through different traditions. We set up the Earth Whisperer practice. First, here are some of the ideas for what you can do each day to begin to make the changes to be ever more available to allow the visionary self to emerge. Number one, be grateful for everything that you encounter, from the water in your shower to the bed that you sleep in to the neighbors who spoke with you today. This will open appreciation channels that value connection. Live in your senses. Be aware of touch, smell, hearing, sight, and taste. This will aid and enhance connection too. Be aware of the spaces between everything. This will help to aerate the pathways. Air that shit out, baby. I'm just kidding. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Ooh, make a list of the things you are drawn to and like on this earth. This will help you to see what you are already in communion with and what is feeding your soul in some way. Okay? Drugs are bad. No, I'm just kidding. The earth is attuning to. We are earth whisperers listening to the calling of ourselves and the earth. Vision quest. Vision quest is a term that was probably first used by 19th century anthropologists to describe the rite of passage ceremonies of some indigenous American cultures. Vision quests can be both personal and collective events that are guided and witnessed within a community. They often involve the person who is on the quest spending time alone in nature in search of personal vision that in its turn becomes a vision to support the entire community, right? That's kind of like what I like to do with the podcast, is let the synchronicities and the signs and stuff and share that with the community. A vision Quests will often accompany an important landmark or life change in someone's life. When life change, what life change are you currently making that has drawn you to this visionary quest? Sacred sites. Vision quests can open us up to the spiritual aspects of a sacred site. Sacred sites are places where within the landscape that have a special meaning or significance to the people of the land. This can be historically through time, and it can be through a personal connection. Hills, rocks, rivers, trees, plains, lakes, and other natural features can be sacred sites. In coastal and sea areas, sacred sites may include features that lie both above and below water. St. Michael's Mount and its causeway in Cornwall, England, is an example of this. What sites hold a special meaning or significance for you? Songlines and ley lines. That's Ley, then lines. Songlines and ley lines. Songlines and ley lines convey their spiritual aspects and vision quests. The Camino, for example, in Spain, is an energy line that is walked to induce vision and healing. That's interesting. They say there's a lot of energy lines in like Sedona and Arizona. Songline is a term that comes from Australian Aboriginal culture. Songlines are long creation storylines that cross the country, which have been walked throughout time. They geographically and mythically connect sacred sites to their places with the stories of the land and Aboriginal culture. They hold knowledge and frequencies that can be walked and sung for healing and for balancing. Ley line or ley is a term that was first coined in 1921 by Alfred Watkins, an antiquarian who lived in Hereford, England. Oh my god. The lid almost popped off. I need a different coffee cup. This lid is like not secure. When I went to go get my new insurance, I took this cup in, knocked it fucking over in the lady's office, and it went all over the fucking floor. I was fucking mortified. I'm like, she's having to get all these like fucking little napkins to like wipe up this huge fucking disaster. I was like, oh my god, I'm never taking this cup in public ever again. My klutzy ass. Okay, where was I? Where the fuck was I? Okay. They hold knowledge and frequencies that can be walked and sung for healing and for balancing. Interesting. Is that the song lines? Ley line or ley is a term that was first coined in 1921 by Alfred Watkins, an antiquarian who lived in Hereford, England. It describes the energy pathways that run through the earth. I find this so interesting. Leys run as straight lines and they flow through sacred sites. Often they cross with other leys at these points. The sacred sites can be felt as nodules holding the vibration of these pathways as they cross and are portals to their information and healing energy. Working with the energy lines and sacred sites is a way of tapping into the Earth's system. Walking or tuning to these lines can also support an opening to our visionary nature and intensify our ability to open up to worlds beyond the everyday one we consensually agree to occupy. Setting up the Earth Whisperer practice. So this is 1.5 more pages and then we're done with this. Setting up the Whisperer practice. Bring forward your intention for the course that you have energized. If you haven't already, write it now as an affirmation of what is already happening for you. E.g., I am, I do, this is how it is. This way you bring it into the present. Now you are going to set up your space for your visionary quest to come. What is written on the following page is an idea of words to read out each day that holds the template of wholeness, aligns you with the vision of the earth, and casts a gaze of support and resourcing for everything that you do. I recommend that you open up space as a daily practice and that you modify the words overleaf to fit with what you might already do or to find a language that feels true for you. You may also choose to play a flute, shake a rattle, or use another instruction that sets up the intention of the space opening without needing to read the words. Earth Whispering Space Opening. So, this is an example. Today, I open my heart to connect with the land and all the special sites, beings, and places on the land. I honor the ancestors of the land here. I honor all the beings, creatures, and manifestations of nature that live here with me. I see the land in all its places and beings being able to be felt, heard, seen, and given audience and inclusion again by humans. I open up my body to be able to connect with the true healthy energy of this amazing earth I live as part of. I set the intention that I can become more and more in alignment with the calling of the earth and the true, vibrant essence of the whole of this planet. I open up my connection with the vibrant energy in my own living body. I feel my intent to be able to listen to and understand the way of my body and its simple needs. I know that by listening to my body and by accepting its limitations, its knowing and its boundaries in each moment, I serve this life and myself best. I know that these needs and limitations can change at any time. I connect with the energy of the personal vision I bring to my life at this moment and bring a space to mind now where I place this alongside and within the true potential vision of this planet. I acknowledge that in this moment I honor the power in myself and in everything to affect positive change. I know that in this moment I am initiating a pathway for flow. I know that the pathway for flow is set as at a gentle but true gauge so that my family, my earth community, and myself can feel settled and held. All righty then. Where's my bookmark? Love this book. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Do you like my little fancy dancy pen? So I was gonna do some autumn equinox affirmations and desires. Ew, there's like a hair on the laptop. Shit, my hair is like be shedding. Okay. No, no, no. Now we're gonna do. Let's read these cards that I pulled. I want to read what the book says. So we got, ooh, girl, don't be knocking over the Holy Grail. I've used this for years in Kabbalah. This would literally be my Holy Grail because I used this for years and years and years for Kabbalistic connections, for like Passover. Kadoosh, it's like a Kadoosh. I would pour the wine, so it was like my Kadoosh cup. Which when you're manifesting like Shabbat or like a Kabbalistic holiday, you always do at the end. It's called Kiddush and Hamotzi, which is the wine and challah or bread, which manifests the energy. So you always do that at the end. All right, so let's look up first. The first card I pulled was, you know, during the New York Shamanic Circle. So let's read what that says in the Shaman's Dream Oracle book. Oh my God, my legs in this chair. This is not the most comfortable chair. I truly need to get a better chair. Mindful group think 40, okay. 80. Excuse me. Mindful. Keep a clear mind. Hurtful thoughts. Groupthink. The human mind can be so many things: a prison, a latrine, a circus, a temple, a cave. It can be a place of restriction or a place of never ending expansion. Right now, be careful of where you wander in your mind. The quality of your thoughts is key as you're in a fertile time for full manifestation. You want to ensure that the seed you plant will sprout and flourish into the life you seek to grow. That's so true. Be mindful not to scatter weeds. It's easy to be influenced by others right now, too, right? Especially in our digital age. It's hard to protect yourself from the energy and the sheer amount of information bombarding you 24/7. If you allow all the fear and uncertainty to pollute your mind and emotions, you will fill yourself up with this negativity and then see more of it in the outer world. Stay out of gossip and other forms of groupthink. For when you cut another person down to their level due to their perceived mistakes or limit them by your envy, you activate lack for yourself. So fill yourself with thoughts of plenty. Imagine your universe unfettered by scarcity and alive with abundant hope and goodness. Be mindful of what your mind is full of and keep the faith. Good brings more good, love more love, gratitude more things to be grateful for. Ooh, I love that. Was great. Weren't we just talking about that? I think we were. By golly. All right, the crossing. Initiation. Initiation. This is where we at now. I pulled this card motherfucking yesterday. The portal call card 54. The crossing 108. I'm getting tired, and we are at literally 3 hours. See, I knew I had too much content. I don't even think I got to a fucking through a quarter. I think I only did like maybe a quarter of it. Okay. I'll scan over it, and if there's anything that I absolutely cannot not share, I will share. All right, the crossing rite of passage initiation. You have come to stand on one side of a river. The opposite bank leads into the darkness of the eternal cave, where the old dies and then is born again. This is a place where time is forgotten, and the seasons cease their dance and stand still, as if in a temporary response. You must cross the river now, honoring and respecting this transition, for it is time to say goodbye to your old ways and navigating your world. So true. Don't be afraid. You've come to the edge of the river because you're ready. You're ready to let go of what doesn't serve you and all the ways in which you've kept yourself from truly living. Intimacy requires vulnerability and truth. Can you strip away the masks and the barriers of false Strength to discover what you're really made of. Can you? Step in the boat waiting for you. Let it carry you into the cave where the shadows are waiting to be illuminated so you can be born again into the world without denial or artifice. Make the crossing. Wait, making the crossing is a beautiful, powerful, and act of the highest love. I love that for us. I love it. I love it. I love it. And everywhere I'll follow. I'll follow. I will follow him. Follow him wherever he may go. You know that song? I'm like a motherfucking jukebox up in this bitch. Don't fall, card. Don't do it. Whatever you do, don't jump, card. Like my prayer beads, my onyx prayer beads. Do ya, huh? Do ya? Do ya, do ya, do ya? Okay. About to call it a night. It's a wrap. It's been 3 hours. Peace. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see what else. Is there anything else that I can't live without sharing with you? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Have you heard that song, Emotional Virgin by Emmeline? Obsessed. It's the vibe of the moment. She is the moment. Just kidding. Seriously, Emotional Virgin. Emmeline. Memeline. Love that song. I heard that right before like the eclipse hit, and I was like, and Rosh Hashanah, which is all about the Virgin, and I was feeling emotional, and I was like, this song is really speaking from my heart for me, and it was. I love it. I could hear that shit on repeat. Oh yeah, this was another funny thing. King David and the Frog. So I had these like references to a frog, and then I came across this Bible portion with King David and talking to a frog, and it was amazing. What else? Somatic release and integration. Oh, did you? So the thing, what I was obsessed with Indiana Jones when I was little. You see my shirt says Indy. Well, we were so obsessed with it that my brother's blood father, who was my adopted father, and our stepmother, who he was married to, we had a dog when I was growing up called Indy, which was named after Indiana Jones. And we would watch as like a family the Indiana Jones movies all the time. We even had like a computer game of like Indiana Jones. So I was like, I watched those movies so over and over and over as a child. So they're like embedded, and I just love them. And so do you know in the beginning of The Last Crusade, River Phoenix plays a young Indy? And so when I was curating the photos that day, I just happened to wear my little like Adidas sort of like sun whatever hat, which almost looks similar to like just the shape of like Indiana Jones hat. And when I was curating like photos, and I like put those two photos together just by coincidence, I was like, oh yeah, some of my facial features really resemble Harrison Ford. And I was like, I've always had this like obsession with like Indiana Jones movies. And Harrison Ford just did his last movie, and it's basically they're like retiring the franchise. And I always tell the story about, which is all about it's like kind of like a tower moment and like planting seeds, and then your dream vision of where it's like beyond your wildest dreams manifests in ways that are just like what do they say in Kabbalah? It's called certainty beyond logic, where you think in a limited mindset that, oh, this thing can actually happen, but actually anything can happen, and that everything's illusionary, and that God can manifest your wildest dreams in ways that are just like illogical. And so Oprah always shares a story that's very illogical about how she got the role in The Color Purple, and it makes no logical sense that it was offered to her. And it was just something she manifested because of her desire of wanting it so much and being in a vibrational alignment that it ended up happening. And I wasn't even like putting two and two together that last week I had the theme of Poltergeist 2, which is done by Steven Spielberg. Indiana Jones, done by Steven Spielberg. There are a lot of movies. And I'm into Kabbalah. He's Jewish. There's just like a lot of like things where I really love Steven Spielberg ever since I was like young, and I really like connect with a lot of his work. And I thought, wouldn't that be like a dream to be able to like have the franchise of Indiana Jones like go on beyond Harrison Ford retiring, and to like be able to like play Indy the way like River Phoenix was able to play like a young Indy. I was like, why limit yourself, David? That's absolute possibility. So we'll see if that ever happens. I'm like, Steven, if you ever want to make a Indiana Jones new chapter, I'm your dude. So I was looking at the picture. I'll show you the pictures. I was like, I resemble a little the features. I can play straight, unless you want to do a gay Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones goes gay. Why not? Stranger things have happened. Where is the photo? Where is the photo? Where is that photo? Okay, so here's my indie picture. And that's supposed to represent like the Holy Grail. And, in the Grail, his dad gets shot. And then there's like holy water, and he scoops the Grail with water, which was totally representative of the healing qualities of water, which is very, I'm always practicing like Kabbalistic prayers to activate the healing properties of water. So and so that's why I was doing that with the water and the Grail cup. And and that was that picture where it was like, the breath of God, only the penitent man will pass, and then kneel. And then now go listen to U2 later on, Vertigo, and where he's like, your love is teaching me how to kneel. See, then I'm wearing this that day when I was like curating this, just randomly threw this on when I went to go get like coffee. And now look at the resemblance. Don't you think I could play? I got that nose, I got those eyebrows, I got that charming. Just kidding. But don't you see the resemblance? Like, can't you see me playing Indiana? I surely can. Oh, fuck. Gotta do this. Okay, so we gotta do this before I get off. So the Emperor and the Empress was the themes. So we're gonna just learn a little bit about the Emperor and Empress for people that, of course, tarot readers that are skilled, they know what it represents. But for newbies like me, we're learning the tarot cards. Refreshing. I used to learn when I was a teenager, but I'm stopped and now I'm delving back into it. So let's learn about the Emperor and the Empress, and then I'll call it a night because I'm tired and my voice is getting hoarse. We're at 3 hours and 8 minutes. Okay, where is the freaking Emperor and Empress? Chariot, the lovers, the Hierophant. Okay, here we go. The Emperor. This is from A Beginner's Guide to Card Meaning Spreads and Intuitive Exercises Guided Tarot by Seamless Reading, Stephanie Caponi. Excusez-moi. The Emperor tells all about the card and what it means and represents, and the reverse and all that jazz. The Emperor sits on his heavy throne, clad in armor bearing his robes. He is grounded yet ready for action at all times. Oh, yeah, daddy. The Emperor embodies the divine masculine counterpart and action oriented energy. He sits on a concrete throne adorned with rams, symbolizing his stability and connection to the astrological sign of Aries. The landscape behind him is barren, except for a stream of water flowing through the scene. Interesting. Representing emotion and intuition, which lead him to take inspired action when necessary. He wears a crown and holds an orb and a scepter, representing his authority and power, and beneath his robe is armor that suggests he is ready to jump into battle at any moment. Notice the colors in this card. Reds and oranges are symbolic of power, authority, and assertiveness in the material realm. General reading. The connection to divine masculine energy in the Emperor card is what leads you to take action from a place of power. Sorry, I was having a fantasy for a second. Sorry, oh, I had to like snap back there. General reading. The connection to divine masculine energy in the Emperor card is what leads you to take action from a place of power rather than reacting from a place of fear. This requires having a healthy relationship to your masculine energy and taking up space. Connect to your inner authority, acknowledging ambition, drive, and power in a way that serves the greater good, not just yourself. Love and romance. Make a move, be bold, and heed your passions. You have more power in the realm of romance than you realize. Stay balanced with the masculine energy by noting when you're being too assertive or not assertive enough. In your relationships, your intuition will guide you to where more or less of this energy is needed. That's interesting. You have more power in the realm of romance than you realize. Isn't that interesting? So the emperor is romantic. Stay balanced with the masculine energy by noting when you're being too assertive and not assertive enough. And it's that fine balance. In your relationships, your intuition will guide you to where more or less of this energy is needed. Okay. Career and money. If you've been waiting for a sign to take inspired action on your goals, this is it. It's time to speak up or step fully into a leadership role. Being more aggressive in issues related to your career will work in your favor, so go ahead and ask for what you want. Personal, spiritual. To tap into that active masculine energy, try utilizing affirmations of self empowerment. Give yourself permission to take up more space and become the authority within your life, instead of deferring to others or valuing their opinions over your own. Reversed. A reverse emperor in a reading can suggest a disconnection from personal power or an inability to take action. Let that bold, assertive masculine energy flow so you can stand up for yourself or take control of a situation. The reversal can also indicate that the presence of toxic masculine energy, the abuse of power, defensiveness, or immature reactions that stem from fear and anger. Okay. And then it has some keywords. And it asks, how do you identify with the emperor? Upright meanings, inspired action, personal power. Reverse key meanings, inability to take action or defensive, reactive. Numerology, stability and structure. Astrology, Aries, individuality, personal power. All right, now let's look at the Empress. Here's the Empress. With her scepter, and it looks like is that an Ankh? No, what is that? Oh, that's like the female symbol. Okay, the Empress embodies the divine feminine, the essence of the divine feminine energy through her connection to nature and her willingness to let her body be a sacred vessel. She creates a life filled with love. The Empress sits on plush pillows in a lush forest while a river flows toward her, suggesting her connection to nature. A heart with the symbol of Venus is proudly displayed by her side. indicating she is open to love and beauty in all their forms. Her flowing pomegranate, I have a pomegranate, we have a pomegranate tree in the garden. Her flowing pomegranate print grown symbolizes passion, fertility, and the ability to create. On her head is a crown of stars representing the 12 signs of the zodiac. The Empress's raised scepter and open body posture reveal her receptiveness and her confident attitude about the power of her sexuality. General reading: the Empress emanates a powerful energy of receiving rather than taking action. She's a bottom. Just kidding. That was dumb. You can allow what is being birthed in your life to take its time without rushing or forcing it. The Empress is relaxed, trusting that her passion and creativity produces a powerful magnetism that attracts everything she desires. Everything she desires. Love and romance. Allow yourself to receive love and acknowledge that you can attract romance by loving yourself. I love that because that was something that was recently I was like acknowledging that it was, like being reflected towards me is like when you pour into yourself, you're actually pouring into your soulmate. And, it's magnetizing you to your soulmate. So yeah, you attract romance by loving yourself. This is which a lot of times people don't understand that concept. This is a fertile time for you that may lead to a pregnancy. You are drawing love to yourself naturally and in your own time. And if you're same sex, you can always adopt or have a surrogate. You may be receiving a career or money. You may be receiving money or a job from unexpected sources, creating even more abundance in your life. But since this card is about receptivity, be careful not to push. You will need to be patient. Personal, spiritual, remember. That's interesting. Of not pushing and being receptive to receive. Personal, spiritual, I feel like I was just recently having to like be that way. Personal, spiritual, remember to practice self love and engage in more creative activities by tapping into the energy of Venus through creativity, romance, self love, and spending time in nature. You can bring divine love into your spiritual practice. Go outside and find ways to connect with the natural world. Reversed. The reversed Empress can point to the ways you feel blocked or cut off from loving yourself or allowing others to love and care for you. You may be feeling disconnected from your creativity or unable to receive praise, affection, or other signals of positivity. The reversed Empress may also suggest difficulties in pregnancy, romantic complications, or trying to force a situation rather than be patient. It can indicate that you're relying too heavily on masculine energy to make things happen. And need to tap into feminine energy instead. Consider finding ways to reconnect with nature to remind yourself that everything blooms in its own time. What are you creating in your world with your Empress energy? So yeah, it's like being willing to like receive instead of being the provider and the go-getter and the upright key meanings: receiving love, creativity. Reverse meanings: disconnection, creative blocks. Numerology 3, creativity, grown, expansion. Astrology: Venus, love, beauty, money, and creativity. Righty. Love that. Love those cards. I love them cards. I love me some tarot cards. Ding, ding. All right, let's look at my notes. Is there anything else, Spirit? Isn't that funny that Elsa, like, not letting go of the fucking grail and she falls and dies is what inspired Let It Go? Elsa. The boy is mine. So that's where I Can't Believe My Eyes came from. That song by Ariana Grande. The boy is divine. I can't believe my eyes. So that's when I had the epiphany because I was already doing the blindfold thing, which is about, your inner vision and connecting to your, intuition, your psychic abilities of seeing through, your third eye, or even like a lot of times people will like see like through the eye of an eagle. Or like an owl, or like there's a lot of in shamanism, like connecting to animal spirits and being a visionary. Is there's like you know what is it called? Why am I spacing what it's called? Spirit animals, yeah, as a for like higher vision. So that came from that song. I Can't Believe My Eyes, and that also was representative to me. Like, you can't always believe the illusion. Abraham Hicks talks about this. Oh, speaking of that, I was going to talk about her vibrational alignment scale or whatever. Um, Abraham Hicks talks about that. There's certain things that are already manifest, and you don't want to get in the vibration of already what is, because then you're going to attract more of what is, and you're trying to attract what is not yet. And by that, you want to be a vibrational match to that, your desire, and not reacting to what already is, and how your displeasure of that. And that's how you stay in vibrational resistance, and you don't attract or manifest the things that you actually desire. That's when you're like becoming like a vibrational match to what you don't want instead of what you do want. So what you focus on, kids, is very important, especially vibrationally. So get happy, get joyful. Come on, get happy. Even when things externally, and that's the trick, is when you're going through like challenges externally and it's heavy and it's like, a tower moment, the most powerful thing you can do is vibrationally stay in a state of joy, or this has no power over me, or stick to your vibration, or like, uh, you know, stay a vibrational match to your vision of what you desire, as if you already have it, as it is already manifest. And that's how you're going to attract it into being. Letting go, let go, like they told Elsa, let the fuck go. You got to let go of that damn resistance, baby, to bring it into fruition. um Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world where we rely on each other. Uh-huh. So Jennifer Love Hewitt did like a version of that from the classic by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, which my parents used to love when I was growing up. I love it too. The original is great, but Jennifer Love Hewitt's on that show 911, and I didn't know she covered that song, and she did like a more slowed down version of it, but the lyrics are so beautiful. And then I love that song. I used that song and kind of for my promotion the last few weeks, and her song bare naked, and I just can't take it. I'm getting jaded. No, I just can't fake it anymore, cause I'm bare naked. And they say life's what you make it. Wish I could float away, something like that. Yeah, I'm a little off. My voice is like hoarse, honey, but I love to sing. A little do what diddy diddy dum diddy do. Um Oh yeah, then it was talking about drums and like shamanic drums and like to get into like alpha, theta, delta ranges. Um, so getting like a shaman's drum and doing like a repetitive like beat to it can help facilitate you into that visionary meditative state. So it talks a little bit about that. So it says the drum and other instruments that make repetitive noises and have wealth of symbolism and meanings attached to them to connect us with the communication realms can take us out of everyday chatter and into a place of knowing. Particular things happen in our brainwaves when we listen to the sounds of a drum or a rattle. In the trance state of drumming, brainwaves move out of the beta range between 14 and 21 cycles per second, in which we are attentive and focused on everyday external activities, and into the alpha, theta, and sometimes delta ranges. A lot of times before bed, I listen to the app Insight Timer because they have all this like frequency. What is it called? Like alignment music or whatever, and it gets you into like that a vibration. And I usually it really helps me fall asleep. Anyways, yeah, sound therapy on an Insight Timer and getting that's a great way to get yourself to meditate and listen to sound therapy because you'll become a vibrational match to it, and that's a good facilitator for getting into vibrational alignment. If you have too much negative momentum being triggered, you want to do stuff to like shift that. Oh yeah, in the beginning when my therapy session, like before was curating a lot of this, at first I was going to call it hypervigilance and running on empty. And then at one point I was, after my shaman circle, I was going to call it Pachacuti. The fuck was the title going to be? Pachacuti something. What was it? I think I went through all my notes pretty much though. And oh no. No, I did read The Crossing. Okay, yeah, I did. What else? What else? What else? Is that it? No, we do. Let's sage with that. So I have a. So somebody was one of my one of the spiritual practitioners that I follow on Instagram. She was saying to do like a chakra sort of like cleanse. So I got a. This is actual chakra sage from this metaphysical store I love, and we'll use the cleansing prayer from the Zohar, and we'll smudge before we call it a night. Oh yeah, and then I'll do the apple prayer too, and then we're done. Deal? Okay. We'll do that. Sage and the apples and honey. Or should I do that? We'll do the apple last. That'll be like the manifestation. Okay. Okay. Are you ready, set, go? So it's Zohar book 1, Bereshit A, paragraph 220 and 221. You scan that, and then you scan the 72 names of God for spiritual cleansing or banishing the remnants of evil, and then you smudge. I'm getting jaded, no, ain't getting anymore, cause I'm bare naked. I'm like, wake up my mother. I like being bare naked. I like being naked, doodah, with my boyfriend, with my husband, with my soulmate. Okay. Now, so I scanned that, and then these are falling out. So we're scanned spiritual cleansing, mem, vav, mem. So scan that with me, mem, vav, mem. And just for funsies, we'll do banishing the remnants of evil, which is like ripped. So that is, excuse me, Lamed Aleph Vav. Lamed Aleph Vav. Say it with me. Lamed Aleph Vav. Need to order a new book of this. Book of this. Book of this. Shut this freaking fan off. Okay, let's actually let me set this here so I don't keep setting shit on fire. Yeah, I don't want to catch my shorts on fire. Oh, come on. The ceiling fan's like, ooh, girl. All right, that's good. I don't want to set up. Can you imagine if I set off the smoke alarm while my mom's sleeping and the dog's sleeping? Oh, hell no. The dog hates that. All right, I'm done. Where's my cover? All right, that was good enough. All right, we smudgied. Now let's do the prayer of the apples and honey for mercy and to wish you all a happy Shana Tova, happy, blessed, abundant New Year. Sweetening any judgments. We got our cosmic organic apple. I got a little knife. And here, let's put it in some little slices. And we got some raw honeys. And I'm going to jizz all over it with some honey. Ooh, yeah. Getting jizzy with it. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to put on our shades because I wear my sunglasses and so I can. All right. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? Let's go. Ooh. Okay, Hyatts. So say it with me if you can see. I mean, it's like the light is like, whoa. It's like, whoa, I can't read it. All right, so I'll just recite it for you. Oh, I'm sending you the Reiki energy of the prayer. Hyatts, you got your apple and your honey? You ready, set, go. If not, pause it and come back and do it. Call in the good energy for the new year. Hayat's blessing over fruits that come from a tree. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree. That is divine. Mm. Perfect way to end our connection. I love you guys. And I love you specifically. You guys have a great night. I love you. I love you. I love you. Mwah. Seriously, though, everyone, God bless you. Sending you all my love. And not seriously, I mean, I'm sending love to my love, my heart, my man, and sending love to anyone who's connecting with the Supernal David podcast. I'm really grateful for everyone that has been like enjoying it. I've been really seeing the growth on TikTok and Instagram and noticing who's a lot of people in the community in this and the spiritual practitioner community. Excuse me, choking on an apple here. I'm noticing a lot of like supportive energy, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I really love when you guys get excited and with all my like artistic curation, and I can sense that you guys are getting inspired, and that really is just everything to me. And I love this feeling of being a part of the community and seeing like the community grow. And even though if there is, like still like, like it's not even about just like I would love like more followers and more subscribers, but just the fact that I'm noticing people having like this sort of buzz energy of enjoying a lot of the content I create as like promotion, and that they're watching even maybe if they're not subscribing. But please subscribe, support a motherfucker. But yeah, thank you guys. It really is makes me feel good that I'm not just doing this for nothing, and that it is reaching people and people are enjoying it and inspired by it. And thanks for making me feel a part of a community, which is something I've always been trying to find my peoples. And I think this is I always kind of sensed that I was meant to be like a spiritual teacher, and it was just finding a place or an outlet that was accepting of like who I was and my authenticity, which a lot of religious environments were not. So that's why I finally was like, you know what, I'm going to do this like on social media without somebody like basically like raining on my parade, where I can say and do what I want, do things my way, and coming from just an authentic place of wanting to inspire and help heal, or like share spiritual wisdom that has helped me get through dark times in my life. That's all what it's really about, is just about sharing and connecting with you guys and helping other people like get out of darkness, because I was in such a state of darkness for so many years in so many ways that if I think I went through that, so because I was meant to become a healer and help people find the tools or the secrets of how I overcame a lot of my adversity. And so that's basically why I'm really passionate about doing this. But love you guys. Love you, baby. Have a good night. Thank you. God bless.